But let's do this first because since last week, one of my good friends that I've known for a long time, literally, he's the son of one of my good friends, died. Young man, only about 31, 32 years old. And so it was, since last Friday, I have been crying. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's been a lot of tears, a lot of reflection. And, you know, we talked about last week how rough this year in general has been. 2020 has been a crazy year, which is part of the reason why I agreed to do this workshop. A lot of folks have asked me about self-expression and writing. So can we just, has nothing to do with organized religion, no matter what you are, and even if you're atheist, agnostic, you all have the right to be whatever you are, but can we all just close our eyes for a moment and just take about, what I'm going to do, hold on a second, I'm going to time it. Let's take about 60 seconds and just breathe in through our noses and out through our mouths. Is that okay? Can we do that together?
Yes.
Is that cool? Because a lot of times we do not know how to slow down, and I will include myself in that. Like I just go. And how many of y'all find yourself eating lunch at like 5 o'clock and then dinner at 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I know.
So, yeah. So
I'm hungry right now.
You hungry right now? I heard that.
I did.
Let's
London, and I'm very hungry. Trust me.
Let's table the food for a second. Let's just think some thoughts here. So 59, 50. Just close your eyes. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Today, I keep admitting people we're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just do it on your own. We got 40 seconds left. You know, a lot of times we do not, myself included, know how to slow down, how to pause, how to be still, how to be quiet. I meditate and pray every day, but sometimes, you know, we just need to be still. Close your eyes, just in through the nose. Positive thoughts, put the toxic, negative thoughts out. Remember what we said last week, y'all. I am a writer. I am a writer. I'm a writer. And I love the fact that y'all were hashtagging I am a writer all over social media. I need to trademark that sucker. No, I'm kidding. I don't own that. I don't own that. But keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. Even if you're laughing, that's good. That's good. I've been crying the last few days. Like I said, I just lost a dear friend. Life is not easy. This year has been rough, but we're going to get through it. Let's do it for about 15, 20 more seconds. And please mute your phones or whatever's around you. We're asking folks to just close their eyes and just, because we also talked about mental health a lot last week, which is why I decided to start every session now with a meditation and close every session with a meditation, because we need to figure out some practices that'll help us with our mental health. All right, 10 more seconds. 9, 5, 3. And only when you're ready, start to open your eyes real slowly. And as an affirmation of self-love and self-care, just give yourselves a round of applause because you are important. Let's do this. Just as and you know what, this is part of what I wanted to say to you all. Let me just send someone the Zoom link real quick. They're like, Kev, I can't find the Zoom link. I'm like, son, it's all over. It's all over the registration. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Some of y'all did it today too. Just give me a second, y'all. Y'all all right out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Meditation's cool. We good with that? To start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So let me just go to my notes because I'm taking this very seriously. First of all, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this because you didn't have to be here. There's a lot of stuff happening on social media every single day, as we know. I'm humbled and grateful that y'all are participating like this. We are up to 125 people. Okay, this is beautiful. We had like 180 last week. I want to thank you to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. As always, they're our partners with this. I want to shout out Daniel Gallant, the executive director, Jason Quinones, Chris Lopez, and my teammate, Sadea James, who is also from Brooklyn like I am, and she's a dynamic young writer who I'm so happy to be working with now. Why are we doing this? As I said earlier, because people have asked. I see you, Michael Carter. How are you? We're doing it because people have asked several times throughout the year, Kev, you know, how do I get published? How do I get my blog out there? I'm stuck with my book. I'm stuck with my screenplay. I'm having difficulties with this poem. I've written 14 books. I'm working on my 15th book, which is a biography of Tupac Shakur, which will come out sometime in the next year or so. I've written for all kinds of publications. This year alone, I've written for New York Times a few times, Washington Post magazine, some other places. And I've taught writing all around the world. So writing is important to me. As I said last week, writing is important to me as breathing. And I just, we gotta create communities, And so even if you are not a published writer, that's okay. If you've been published many times in different forms, that's okay as well. We've said since last week, please, let's just all respect each other as equals in this space. Can I just get a shaking of the heads or waving of the hands for that? Or,
Yes.
Yes.
The reason why in these workshops is where I can give feedback. I'm going to leave some time at the end of workshops. Today, we're going to edit a little bit the internal agenda we have with the last part of it where I say open the floor. We're going to if folks have any writing questions, let's just ask them at the end of the session. But I want to be honest with you all. I cannot read folks' work one-on-one outside of this session. I am overwhelmed with work in my own writing projects. But inside of this space, you got me for 2 hours every week. Is that cool, y'all?
That's good.
And for free. Can we say free?
Free.
Thank you.
See you, Kathy Nelson. I'm shouting people out there as I see them. I see you sharing. Everyone, please make a note because you all have asked Carla Radford and other people, where's the Zoom link? Where's the Zoom link? The Zoom link is on the registration page. It will not change. The Zoom link will be the same for every single workshop, but you do have to register for every individual workshop. So let folks know that the Zoom link will always be the same. It's always on that registration page that the Nuyorican Poets Cafe set up. All you have to do is register for each individual workshop and then jump in. Can we say one of our mantras from last week is safe space and what else, y'all? Know what?
No judgment.
Safe space, no judgment. One of the things that came up last week several times is people being in writing workshops, people being in different kind of spaces, be it at the high school level or the college level or a community-based writers organization, and people dissing them and dissing their writing and making them feel kind of insecure or very insecure about sharing their work. And so I can't guarantee 100,000% that this is going to be a completely safe space, but I am asking you all, please, I'm actually begging you all to come with love. Just come with love and kindness and compassion. You're not going to like everything. You're not going to like everything I say. You're not going to like all of my work. I'm good with that. I don't like all of my work. Some of my work really does suck. Some of my work really is terrible. But I also believe in, let's be constructively critical as people are sharing their work today and every week after this. Is that cool, y'all?
Yes.
Right. And so then what I want to move to, and Daya, can you just put it up so we can read it together on the screen share? We're going to do a screen share really quickly. It'll just be one. I promise it's just the only one. But I want y'all, because we took serious notes. I also got notes from people like Dr. Jerry Ward, who's one of my mentors, one of the great scholars out of the South, was at Tougaloo College in Mississippi for years, also Dillard University. Just waiting for this to come up. We're up to 135 folks, and folks are still coming in. This is beautiful. Hey, Lakeisha Washington, I see you. Who's that Syracuse in focus in the dark? Who is that? Okay. Are you in Syracuse, New York? You upstate? That's what's up.
You talking about me?
I'm not sure who that is. Is the screenshot up?
1 second.
Okay.
No.
Just give us a second, y'all. Folks who are just coming in, we just did a meditation for a minute. We're going to do that at the beginning. Hey, Leslie Cigar, I see you. Queen's Finest. There you are. Thank you for joining us. Leslie's one of our great dancer choreographers. She's working on the book, and she has a lot of stories to tell. And she's one of the folks I had conversation with earlier this year about how important it is for us all to tell our stories. Can everyone see the screen? Just make some noise if you can see the screen, please.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, ignore the first part. We did the breathing meditation already. And like I said, we're going to close with it. Ignore. We shouted out the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. We thank them. Please go to their website if you want to support the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. They're one of our many nonprofit organizations. And, historically, so many amazing writers have come through there. I was fortunate enough to come through there in the early 90s as a young poet. I already talked about why I'm doing this, that I can't read work one-on-one, about the Zoom link. Let's go down to what we discussed covered in week number 1, which is what is a writer, who is a writer. And as I said, a lot of us say things like, I think I'm a writer, I'm kind of a writer, I'm an aspiring writer, and what we said last week, y'all, which is so beautiful, just own it. I am a writer, I am a writer, I'm a writer. Because, no one can tell you who you are except yourself. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Whether you've been published or not, if you write in any form, if you think about writing, if you feel like there's something that you can do with the written word, then just claim I am a writer. You know, we talked last week about the necessity of understanding various relationships between writing and mental health. I'm gonna be honest with you all. We went back and reviewed everything. I think the word mental health came up probably 30–40% of the time last week, you know, for a lot of reasons. People talked about stress, anxiety, depression. As I said to you at the beginning, I just lost a dear friend, unfortunately, tragically, to suicide the other day. And he was an artist. He was a creative person. Because those of us who express ourselves in any kind of form, would you all agree that we feel things in a way that a lot of people don't feel things?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. True indeed. Yes, indeed.
So,
Yep.
you know, we agree that we should tell our stories. We should write from our experiences, whether you're a screenwriter, a blogger, a poet, whatever kind of writing you do. But I also want to offer that we've got to have some sort of balance there, which is why I meditate and or pray every day, which is why I work out every day, which is why I believe in yoga. I believe in, you know, my spiritual practice, my religious practices, which I will never try to put on anyone else. But I know that it helps me to be balanced emotionally, because writing is hard, y'all, especially when you start bleeding on the page, which is what some of y'all will be doing as you're reading your work today. Some people said several times last week, writing has helped or saved my life. Y'all remember that, who were here last week?
Yes.
That's a heavy statement. That's a heavy statement. You know, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have writing, if I couldn't write this poem, if I couldn't write this book. And that says to me that we live in a world where we don't have enough spaces where we can express ourselves freely, you know. And I'm saying to you all, we have to create those spaces, which is why this writing workshop is not my writing workshop. Can we say our workshop? Can we say our workshop?
Our
Workshop.
Because other than me talking in the beginning, it's collective. We're going to share. It's a democracy as best as we can make it. We talked last week about the importance of keeping journals and writing something each and every day, and also exploring structures and styles of many genres of writing. I can't stress this enough, you all. If you are going to claim I'm a writer, if you're going to tag people and say hashtag I'm a writer on social media, you got to read. You know, you got to read. You got to read. There's no one getting around that. If you're writing poetry, you got to read poetry. If you're writing an autobiography or memoir, you got to read autobiographies, memoirs. If you're writing for a newspaper or magazine, you've got to read the best writings out there. And you got to read writings that are not that great, because you learn from even the stuff that's not that good. If you're a screenwriter, you watch great films and you watch films that are like, and then you start thinking about how could I have written that script differently? The same thing with a play. Is this making sense, y'all?
Yes.
And some folks said they still keep journals. Some folks said they started and they stopped. Some folks said they did it years ago. They want to come back to it. I personally do not write every single day right now, but starting October 1st, when I got to do the last big push for my biography of Tupac Shakur, I have to write every day. I'll be up at 4 or 5 in the morning, because that's the only quiet time I have. Even if it's only 30 minutes a day, y'all, 15, 20 minutes a day, make a commitment to putting some words down. You know, because otherwise, if you think of it like, well, this script has got to be 120 pages, or this autobiography or this novel that I'm writing has got to be 400 pages, you're never going to get it done. But if you do little bits by piece by piece over time, your script is done, your play is done, your book is done. You know, we talked also about the importance of being passionate about language and writing skills. Spelling and grammar is critical. Again, no judgment. Can we say it again? No judgment.
No judgment.
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 Who you are is who you are, you know. But from this point forward, we all, myself included, have a responsibility. How can I get better with my spelling? How can I get better with my grammar? What do I need to read on a regular basis that's some of the best writing in the country where I can actually grow? Do I read The Undefeated on ESPN? Do I read The New Yorker? Do I read Esquire? Do I read Vanity Fair? Do I read the New York Times or the Washington Post on a regular basis? Do I read Lucille Clifton, one of our greatest poets? Do I go back and read Maya Angelou? I go back and read Toni Morrison. Do I read Hemingway? You know, what do I read that will help me to grow my writing and my language and writing skills? We already kind of talked about the necessity of reading widely. I read everything. I can't speak for anyone else, but every morning I get up, I'm reading. When I go to sleep at night, I'm reading. The importance of knowing all kinds of writers. Don't become just obsessed with writers that you may know. One of my favorite writers ever is someone named Henry Dumas, who most people have never heard of.
Oh, yeah.
One of the great poets. You know, he came out of the same period of the 60s, the Black Arts Movement, like Amiri Baraka and Maya Angelou and Sonia Sanchez and Nikki Giovanni, people who we would know. But I also gravitate toward those writers who are dope that people have never heard of. I think that's important. And we also talked about, which we didn't put on here, forgive me for saying that, like, I certainly want to be rooted in writers who are African-American, that's who I am, but I also got to read Shakespeare. I got to read the Irish writers, the Jewish writers, the women writers, the straight writers, the queer writers of all different identities, Native American writers, Asian writers, you know. I talked about how I barely read any women writers the first 20 some odd years of my life, and the huge impact it made when I started reading Gloria Naylor, you know what I'm saying, and Zora Neale Hurston and people like that. And so we got to read, and we got to read with a purpose if we're going to be writers. Is everyone cool with that recap?
Yeah.
So we can lose that today, please. And I'm going to move on to part 2, which is, again, thank you, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I want to keep shouting them out because they're one of our historic nonprofits. You know, folks have asked, Kev, how can we support you? Just my new book, When We Free the World, is on Amazon and Apple Books. That's it. If you want to support it, that's what you can do. Again, I'm sad because I just lost a friend, you know, to suicide, an artist, a couple of days ago. You know, but we got to also celebrate life. I see my cousin LaShawn on here. Hey, LaShawn. She's trying to lean in the cut. Shout out to Boston. Shout out to Boston, even though I hope the Miami Heat win, but I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. And shalom to my Jewish sisters and brothers. Assalamu alaikum to my Muslim sisters and brothers. I know we're in the middle. We just, the New Year just passed. Shout out to folks. Samson, I see you out there. Arle, are you there? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, real quick, y'all. I need you to do me a favor. So Dad, do me a favor. Can you put the book cover up for a real quick second, really quickly? Just one quick second, please.
A cute baby.
He's so handsome.
So I met that young man when he was 5 years old, and guess where I met him at, y'all? His mother brought him to a book signing of mine when he was 5. And you see him in the middle with he's way more stylish than I am. I'm gonna tell you that. But that is my little friend Lexington, who was 5 years ago, who just turned 10 yesterday.
Happy birthday, Lexington.
But Lexington graced me by being on the cover of that book. That book is inspired by a famous photograph by Richard Avedon of Julian Bond and other Black and white civil rights workers in the 1960s. And Lexington and I have been working together for the last year. He is a genius. He's a genius. He's a genius. Lexington, I love you. Happy birthday to you. I just want to shout you out.
Happy birthday.
I got something coming in the mail for you later this week, Lexington, for your birthday. All right. All right. So we got to get back to work, y'all. I just want to shout him out because we got to also honor life while we have it. Is that right, y'all?
That's right.
All right. So really quickly, it's 7:24, and I want to get to the readings, and we agreed to 2 minutes each. Here's how it's going to be very random. So what I want to do, everyone, because we got so many folks who said they want to read, we got 6 more workshops to go this week, and obviously the next 5 weeks. I'm going to randomly pick 15 people each week. You know, just raise your hands via the chat room, and I'm going to just be ready. As Tiffany Haddish says, you know, be ready. She ready. They ready. They ready. Just be ready to read something. Hey, Vinny Magginelli, I see you. How are you?
Good.
You know, but before we get into folks raising, well, you can actually start raising your hands now, and I'll start calling on folks. Anyone want to reflect on anything that has been said today or last week, just in terms of writing process? How are you feeling between last week and this week? You know, hopefully you didn't have as rough a time as I just had the last few days, but how are y'all feeling out there about the writing process and the mantra of I am a writer? What's on your hearts and minds real quick? Just about 10 minutes just for open floor. Can we do that?
Yeah. I'm inspired.
Okay, who's speaking? Say where you're at, please.
Zainab, Auburn, Washington.
Oregon. Yeah. How are you?
I'll piggyback on my buddy Zainab, Lakeisha from Portland, Oregon. After the class last week, I started exploring why I avoid writing, and I realized it's a fear. And so I started like thinking about why do I fear writing? And just started just like jotting down some ideas. So it helped me to start analyzing what is keeping me from really digging deep into what's keeping me from doing something that is inside of me, that is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And just kind of breaking it down. And that also took it to other things that I avoid. And I realized I avoid creative endeavors that I'm really good at because I have emotional reactions to them when things don't go right. And it really pisses me off. So like when I'm sewing and I mess up and I have to take the stitch out, and I start throwing the stuff across the room, the fabric, and, you know, having fits about it. So that emotional reaction is overwhelming sometimes. And so I think that's why I avoid those things.
Okay. Thank you. And I see Sophia Bendelli out there. I want to shout you out.
Hey, this is Glory V. I'm all the way down in Florida. Hey, everybody.
Glory be
Hi.
Ortiz. Hey.
Hey.
Richie from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
You guys definitely lit a fire under me, and so much so, I'm a teacher at a high school, Title I, very low economic demographic area, and I actually went to the principal and asked her, why do we not have creative writing as an option?
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
You know, because especially nowadays, I think these kids need an outlet.
Yeah.
And they need somewhere to put their thoughts and their feelings. So you guys definitely lit a fire under me this week, and I thank you and appreciate that.
Wow, and I love that. And let me say it again. I mean, y'all, this is not my idea. This is not something that I created. There's been writing workshops forever. We simply are bringing it to Zoom and decided, hey, this is what we're going to do for 7 weeks. And if it extends longer a little bit, we'll do that if people want to do that and have some other ideas. Anyone else want to share? Before
Kev, I just want to say, because, you know, me
hey, Jerome.
It's Jerome. What's going on, brother?
Hey.
You and I connected afterwards, and one of the things that was important to me, yes, we had 180 people in here, but yet it felt small and intimate. Mm-hmm. And because of that, for me, I walked away with, yeah, this is going to be for me. And, you know, I'm going to be writing a book. So I sat down and finally started putting the structure of what it is that I want to write into place. And then different parts as they came to me, I started plugging in with respect to that structure.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, love it.
Awesome. Hey, wow. Anyone else want to share? I see Eartha Watts out there. I see Harlem Writers Guild. Anyone else want to share? Just how who's speaking?
Kimberly Jenkins. I just want to say real quick, I'm not going to talk because I know
Kimberly Jenkins?
Yeah.
Hey.
I just
Ohio. Ohio.
Yes, Miami. Yes, Cowtown, not beaches. I just want to shout out real quick to Glory V. Am I saying your name right?
Glory V. Ortiz.
Yes, Glory V. Ortiz. I just want to say I wish we could connect because I have this whole thing in my spirit about freedom writers. I know that's been done before, but you know, this concept of not teaching children of color, for me specifically African American children, but children of color, immigrants of color, how to write, because writing teaches them to think. And I really want to connect with you on what you just said, because I've taught special ed, and my special ed students, middle school, they were some writers. And I just think I have this thing in my spirit, in my mind. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it yet, but I hope we can connect at some point. And thank you again, Kevin, because again, like I said, this saved my soul. I look forward to this.
Send me your email in the chat.
Yeah, and please network with each other. Please connect with each other. I see you, Billy Johnson in California. Shout out to California. Angie Lawson, I see you out there, California. Anyone else want to share just how you're feeling about this process?
I do. This is
Who's
Michelle
speaking?
Jones. Michelle Jones.
Hey, MJ. Hey.
Hey, Kevin. First, let me say thank you so much for giving us all this opportunity. So this is so awesome. And hey to all my fellow writers in the building.
I love that, fellow writers. That's right.
All out. So I just wanted to say really quick that when I left here last week, it made me think about writing in such a positive way that I said to myself, I will never speak negatively about me writing anything. I will remove that fear from my life, and no matter what I do, what I write, because I'm a overthinker. I will write something and will change it up 500 times before I even let anybody hear it. The piece I read today, I read it to my cousin. I read it to 2 different people because I've never read it to anybody outside family. So like, I'm reading it to them. I'm like, oh, I got to change that. My cousin's like, just leave it. Because when you wrote it, that was what you were feeling at that moment. Just leave it. Just leave it. So I made a vow that I will, whatever I write, I'm going to write. I will never speak fear over it. And I would just think positively about writing. that point on.
That's what's up.
Hey Kev, just so you know, Michelle is one of my co-founders of the Buy Black for Life group. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh wow, that's
Hey,
what's
Jay.
up. That's
What's up, family?
Hey, I see Shaeen Van Kooten, one of Brooklyn's finest, Red Hook in the building. What's up? I know Brooklyn represents hard up in this piece. I appreciate y'all, all the Brooklyn love. Shout out to my home state of New Jersey as well. You know what I'm saying?
There we
Anyone else
go.
want to share before we start opening up the floor to people reading?
Let me just ask
Who's
this.
speaking in what state or
This
city?
is Carla from
Hey.
St. Louis. Yes.
St. Louis. Hey.
Yes. Okay. So what if you're writing about your life, but it intercedes into someone else's life? And you're writing about this other person and you don't have the anatomy to write about their life, but their life intercedes into your life. When you're writing about your life, how do you handle that in a way that is not how do you handle that?
You tell your truth with love, and you tell the truth about people around you with love. I have two words for y'all, Carla. You made me think of James Baldwin. Baldwin. People think of him strictly as an essayist, but some of the most brilliant autobiographical writing in essay form that we've ever seen in world literature, not just American literature, or just Black American literature, just period, the world, is Jimmy Baldwin. If you just read The Fire Next Time, that really short book, the first, you know what I'm saying? The first is the letter to his nephew, and then the second piece is the longer piece that starts off talking about his childhood, his father, that relationship. He had to tell the truth. I grapple with that because a lot of my work is autobiographical as well, which means my mom was always saying to me, "Boy, stop putting our business in the book." But
business in the street.
Yeah,
I've been. That's been my struggle this week because I have been doing it with love, but
that's what
you have to. I mean, we have to tell our stories. I mean, part of being a writer is having the courage to push through stuff that makes us uncomfortable. You know, my goal is never to denigrate my family at all. Everything that I write, I feel like is a love letter to my family, but I do need to understand, who are we? Where did we come from? How did we become this? And how did that shape and affect me? The same thing with the communities that I come from or that I live in, you know? And I think that as long as, back to the mental health piece, as long as you're constantly also working yourself and your writing is not some sort of vendetta against people, you're trying to people, not you, but in general.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have to tell your truth no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
But do I have that right? That's been knocking me in my head.
It's your story.
It's your story, Carla. Who said
you have to tell your story, and if it hurts somebody else's feelings, maybe don't mention them by name, but that's your story.
From your perspective.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. In my
you gotta give yourself permission.
Thank you. You have to give yourself permission, which is
you
why
gotta give yourself permission to tell the story. Yes.
You have to. When you look at some of the greatest autobiographies that have ever been written, Maya Angelou's "I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings." We talked about Angela's Ashes a week ago, the great Irish American writer. God, why am I drawing a blank on his name all of a sudden? Help me, y'all.
Frank McCourt.
Frank McCourt, thank you. I mean, those are very personal stories about their families, but they had to tell the truth, because when you tell yours, remember what we said last week, y'all, for those who weren't here last week, when you tell your specific story, it actually becomes universal, because no matter what the person's background, if you are truthful, they will see themselves in your story. They will connect with it. Yes. But also in telling your truth, you're freeing yourself, Carla, and everyone else. When you tell your truth, it's liberating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I believe part of writing is like, how do I move forward in this journey of life, or am I just going to be stuck for the rest of my life? Why be an artist if you're not trying to constantly free yourself? Does that make sense? Yeah.
No doubt.
Carla, you know what? Today on The View, Joy talked about this very same, not Joy, Sunny Hostin talked about this very same thing, because she had just written an autobiography, and she said her mother didn't speak to her for a week.
Wow.
Because of the fact that she had involved, family information in there that they've always kept silent. And she said they had to talk through it and work through it. Now her mom has come around to understand she had to tell her story.
That's
Oh, that's so dope. Yes, I have that episode taped and I didn't watch it today.
You'll
and
see
for
it.
you to bring that forth tonight, like that's
It just happened this morning. So the fact that you brought that up,
You know,
because I've been battling with that because of a certain circumstance with a certain individual that is in my book. And I am like, is it right for me to publish this and bring this person's name into light when I don't have the right? Like, I haven't asked her.
Well, you know, I think one of our workshops, and forgive me, I don't have the workshops in front of me right now, but one of them will be about the business of writing. I'm pretty sure of that. Anyone got the flyer right in front of them? What week is that? About getting published, getting a book out? What week is that, y'all? Anyone?
I think it's next week.
That's poetry's next week. I do know that for sure. Writing poetry.
I think it's in October, the second to the last week.
So we're going to get to this, you all, but in my autobiography, The Education of Kevin Powell, a lot of the names are real people because I wanted to tell the story, tell my story. But in certain instances, I did change the name because I'm like, one, I'm not trying to get sued, keeping it 100 with y'all. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because some of the may have been sensitive. And then I also may have changed some of the surroundings. Like if they were from New York, I would say, nah, they're from California, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think about this. The same thing happens with films and plays. If you're writing something that's autobiographical, or sometimes we merge characters. And so I think, you know, that's a conversation that we can have, you know, when we get to writing books and publishing a certain kind of way. You know, do I say these names? If it's a famous person, if it's a public figure, quote unquote, that's different. But if it's
a famous person,
well, then that's a different conversation. And remind me, today, let's make a note to bring to folks when we start talking about getting published, you know, some of the things we need to think about in terms of if it's a famous person, what are the boundaries of what we can and cannot say and do? Generally, you can pretty much say whatever, unfortunately, about public.
Because it's already out there. It's already been said and it's already been spoken.
You don't have anything to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. Just tell the truth. Tell your story.
Is the person alive?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
one is and one isn't.
Because if the person is dead, then dead people can't sue.
Exactly.
One person is dead and one person is very much alive.
Your estate can't.
Dead people can't sue. That's so funny.
What?
Dead people can't sue. But let's do this, y'all. Hey, everyone, let's it's 7:40. Carla, you good for now?
I'm good, babe. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm loved. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So we're at 150 people. What I said for folks who just came in, what we're going to do every week, we started this week, is a open meditation just to kind of still ourselves. You know, everyone has busy days. A lot of stuff is going on. The coronavirus is still here. We've lost, tragically, at least over 200 points. God bless you, Salu, whoever sneezed.
Thank you.
Welcome. And we're going to each week have 15 people do 2 minutes. 2 minutes, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, 2 minutes. So we can, and if we do this every week for the next 6 weeks, we will get in at least 90 people sharing their work. Are y'all cool with that?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm looking at it right now. We got 149 people in this room. Last week we had 180. So there's no way we're gonna ever be able to get to everyone. And I know some folks may not be comfortable. What I'm asking you all, hey, Tanya Williams, I see you out there. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Kevin Scott, I see you. What I'm asking you all is to please, if you are, even if you read if you read once, don't try to read again. We need different people every week. Can we agree to that, please? So we're fair.
Yes,
and then 2, after each person reads, I'm going to give feedback, and then a few people just respond as well. If you have any constructive feedback, constructive feedback, you know what I mean? And then the last thing I'm asking folks, you know, please be mindful of the time, because we want to get in as many people as possible and be fair to everyone. And so, and what I'm going to do is just randomly.
But should you keep it to a time limit?
Yeah.
If you want, I can time.
We agreed as a group last week, 2 minutes, you know, and I should have said this week, and I apologize. Well, there's no way we can do it, but read it slowly. I may ask you to read it again if you read too fast, and everyone just listen. And I'm taking notes every time someone reads. I'm asking you all to consider doing that as well. And just say the title of the piece. If it's untitled, say that. Again, say your name, where you're from, but also let us know what genre of writing it may be that you're writing in. Everyone's okay out there? You okay out there who was sneezing or coughing? Okay. So I'm going to call. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with Fareed. I'm putting you on the spot because you said you had something for us. Fareed, are you out there?
I'm out here and elated is what I am. My goodness.
That's my man, 50 grand right there. He's just happy.
I was just saying, when you said random, I was like, oh no, I've always lost at casinos. It's happening all over again. But not in the Kevin workshop. In Kevin workshop, the house works for you. And I like that feeling. So
I love it.
Thank you so much. So I promised you all brevity. What a laugh. No, so I got you a piece of flash fiction. It's like a little espresso shot. And what should I do? Should I just...
Here's what I want you, Fareed, stop. I want everyone to pause for a second. One of the things I learned from the Nuyorican Poets Cafe years ago, whenever we tried to preface what we were about to read, there was a man named Steve Cannon, rest in peace, Steve Cannon, who would yell out, just read the goddamn poem. That's what he said. Forgive my language. I'm quoting him. That's not me speaking that.
Of course.
So I'm asking y'all to read the piece. Just read it. Because if you introduce it for 5 minutes, then you lost your time already.
Perfect. It's I've put it in the chat for everyone. The Tall Man. The Tall Man, a story from above and below. Above. He'd been watching the Tall Man for a week. By now, he had memorized his daily routine. Wake up, gather the goats. As they grazed, the Tall Man went into the cave and would stay there for 15 minutes, sometimes a half hour, before wandering back to his hovel. It was the only time he was blind and deaf. When the Tall Man went into the cave, how he hated those moments. The officers in charge asked, "What is he doing in there, under that mountain where the enemy was known to hide?" They asked questions, but they all knew. He could still remember his elation when he first saw the Tall Man on his screen a week ago. Haggard, but he knew who it was, even through the digital glare. He watched, working overtime. He was desperate to prove that just because he could understand their words, it did not mean he was one of them. Moreover, he so wanted to be the one to do it. After all, he had found the Tall Man. Finally, word came from above. It was over in a second. Clean shot, he thought. No bug splatter. Below. Wake up, gather the goats. He had just moved to the valley. The bombings had destroyed his village. He promised his remaining family that he would come for them when all had been set up in the mountains. The cave seemed perfect, so calm and protected. Each afternoon, he'd walked around the cave, knowing that they would be safe. As he gathered his goats, thunder cracked. End. My story!
Very nice.
Wow. So I have
Very Octavia Butler.
Fareed, is it meant to be science fiction like?
Yeah, I wanted to. This was based on the first case of successful drone killing in the war on terror from the U.S. side. Someone thought they saw Osama bin Laden, and his name was the Tall Man. In fact, the first killing from drone warfare, Kevin, was a mistake, and so this story was inspired by that mistake. Wow. That mistake.
That's beautiful.
Wow, that's a beautiful piece of writing.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
My first love as a kid, Fareed, was fiction. I love. I regret that I've never written anything since high school, really. And just thank you for sharing that. Is it going to be a novel? Is it a part of a short story collection? What are you going to do with it?
I just had this idea I saw there was a flash fiction contest, and so I thought that should be fun. You know, I always think the most powerful thing in cinema is the point of view shot, Kevin, because it gets into people's, eyes. So I thought this could be a way to kind of vacillate between us across the spectrum of power, from those who watch and those who are watched.
I love that. How many words is that piece, Fareed?
I think it's under. I think it's under 200.
It's a very short piece. So people know what flash fiction is out there. I know we write in different genres.
It's 81 words.
Only 81 words.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's something. That's one thing. We're going to talk about this, especially next week when we do poetry. How do we write short pieces that are impactful, and then how do we write long pieces that are impactful? How many of y'all have a problem writing short pieces because you just feel like you got to put it all in one?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I can't do under 1,000 words.
Who said they can't do under 1,000 words? Who's that?
Me, Marianne Sunshine. I can't do under 1,000 words. It kills me.
Wow. What genre? Where are you at? And what genre do you write in?
I normally do op-eds.
Okay.
Yeah, for like journalism, and they always want me to do short pieces, but under 1,000 words, it kills me. I can't do it.
Well, can I say something? Can we remove the word can't from our vocabulary as writers, because we can do anything. And trust me, I hate writing for op-eds as well. I think I said last week when Chadwick Boseman died, I went to CNN and said, hey, can I have 1,500 words? They said, no, you can have 700, make it work. And I had no choice but to make it work. And so, you know, one exercise that we should think about doing, my favorite forms of writing is the haiku out of the Japanese literary tradition. Because it forces you to write short pieces. You know what I mean? And I just think it's important for us to, I mean, Fareed, what you did is inspiring because it felt like it was longer.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it definitely did.
Whatever genre you're writing in, I want to encourage you all to please think, and Fareed was kind of referencing Shakespeare. One of Shakespeare's most famous quotes is, brevity is the soul of wit. Now, what does that mean? Keep it short, y'all. Try it. Anyone else, any other feedback for Fareed? I think that's a beautiful piece. And Fareed, I think you should continue to write those kind of pieces, and I hope it becomes a short story collection. Seriously.
Thank you.
And you have a great voice too. You have a great voice.
You got a lot of shout outs on the voice.
You know, I be careful. I'm going to explode in a burst of happy confetti. Thanks to everyone. It's thank you. It's so lovely. You know, as I told you last week, I study movies, and so I'm very interested in how movies encourage us to feel across a different spectrum of power. So this flash fiction, which you know, I realized was a very different experience for me. So to write in a few dozen or a few hundred words and try to get some power of what I feel from these stories, and from, you know, seeing from one end of a spectrum to another and experiencing that. So it's very exciting and elating to hear that this different style from my usual is resonant. So thank you all so much.
Two things that are inspired by Fareed's reading that I'm going to go to the next person. One, is it Britta in Toronto, Canada? Shout out to Toronto, Canada. I wish I was in Toronto right now. I got to say, I love Toronto so much. T-Dot. Shakespeare's quote is, brevity is the soul of wit. Brevity is the soul of wit, William Shakespeare. And then haiku challenge. We got 150 people in here. I'm going to challenge all of y'all. Haiku is, first line is 5 syllables, second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables. 5, 7, 5. I want everyone to attempt somewhere during this workshop, during this 6 workshops we have left, to write not 1, not 2, but 3 haikus. I don't care if you're a poet or not. Try it.
Sorry, that one's easy for me.
Okay. Are you a poet?
For me.
Okay.
My poetry doesn't I can never do long STEM poetry.
Is that, who's that speaking? Is Jared Cooper? No, who's speaking?
Oh, that was Alexis Coleman.
Hey, Alexis. Hey.
No, I never can. I practice in haiku, but I can't ever translate that over to my op-ed essay writing.
You just used the word can't again. How do you know?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm starting over. I'm working on my tape. So I tend to write longer in my essay, op-ed type writings, and my poetry, because I lose interest so quickly.
Well, then I'm going to challenge you all. Whoever said writing a haiku is easy, I want y'all to write 3 haikus about 3 different subjects of things that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Different subjects?
3, yes, we can, class. 3 different subjects.
We can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Si se puede. Si se puede. Yes, we can.
I thought you said no homework.
Well, I lied. Here we go. Week 2. You know why I'm doing it? If y'all keep saying can't, I'm going to keep adding stuff to do. I mean, for real, that was 81 words.
Yes, Estella.
So if we're going to keep saying negative words about what we can't do, come on, y'all.
Right.
We got to try. We got to try. Have I ever read the biography? The Tupac biography? I've never written a biography in my life. I have to figure out how to write this biography. What does it mean? I got to read all the best biographers who've ever existed. That's what I got to do. I got to figure it out. I can't say I can't do it. You with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, MJ, Michelle Jones is next. And please, I'm asking 15 people, I'm going to call 15 people each week, so just be ready. MJ, you ready, Michelle Jones?
I am.
And Chris or Sadea, can we actually not put me on the screen, but the person reading as the focus point for each? Can we do that, please? Thank you. Because I want all us to focus on the person who's sharing their piece. And thank you all for having the courage to share, to raise your hands, because this is not easy to get in front of people and read. That's a nice sofa. Here you go. Oh, share.
It's untitled, and I decided that I'm going to be present in this workshop since I'm here, so I'm reading.
Okay.
I'm not reading in front of people ever. Okay.
Love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sis.
Have you ever thought to yourself, if I could go back to my younger self, the changes I would make to my life? Looking back on our lives and the mistakes we made, we may say to ourselves, if I could relive that day over again, would I have made that choice? Living a life with regrets is never productive. It keeps you stagnant because you constantly ask yourself, did I make the right decision? Could I have done something differently? What if I went left instead of right? The endless questions in our head that causes us to doubt and question every choice we've ever made in our lives. What if you could go back in time and do it all over again? Would you kiss the same person that ended up hurting you? Would you have gone to that party where you ended up in a fight? Since going back is not a possibility, you can only move forward using your past experiences as a reference point for your present and your future. Wow. I have spoken to many different people who constantly reflect on their past, and they live in a constant state of regret. Why?
Wow.
Come on, sister, with that.
And that's your first time ever. And folks, can you please, if you have background sound, just mute when someone's reading, please? If y'all,
I needed that. That was nice.
Okay. Wow. Your first time ever?
First time ever reading in front of people.
How do you feel?
I feel great. That was really, really dope.
Well, you're really dope.
You guys make it easy because of the no judgment. You guys are dope. The energy is amazing in here. So you guys make it really easy.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was awesome. You did a great job.
Yes, you did. And for someone who's never read in public before, let me tell you, it is not easy to speak or read in front of people. I don't care if it's Zoom or not, just in front of people. That's not easy. What genre would you consider that piece that you wrote?
I never even thought about it, so I don't know.
Okay. It has a poetic form, but it also feels like prose, like an essay, you know, and it can go in a lot of different directions. I think you have to decide, it could be a prose poem, because sometimes poems can feel like essays, but they're in poetic form. And if you decide to take it toward poetry, the only thing I would add to it is let's bring up some metaphors, some alliteration. Someone help me out there. How do we play with language? One of the oldest things we've ever, all of us have heard when we were kids, roses are red. The rest of it, y'all?
Violets are blue.
And
Sugar is sweet, and so are you.
Yeah, or think about Langston Hughes' probably his most famous poem, What Happens to a Dream Deferred? Does it light up like a raisin in the sun? When you start to hear, Michelle, everyone, words like, as, that's saying that we're about to give you, we're not going to tell you that the ice is cold. We're going to describe how the ice is cold. Does that make sense, Michelle?
It does.
Yeah. Let me point out something. What stuck out for me, I just put this in chat. I said at Michelle, girl, you said going to a party and getting into a fight. Why did that stick out to me?
Is that your reality?
You know what? Those are the things that you think about when you look back. You was like, because sometimes there's always that thought of, maybe I shouldn't go. Right.
But I'm glad you left it in, because folks, also, just like we shouldn't use words like can't, as we just talk about what kind of writing we can and cannot do, we're not even willing to push ourselves. We should also not censor ourselves. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, there's a difference between censoring and self-editing, what Toni Morrison talks about brilliantly, self-editing, because you should at some point become your best editor when you go back and forth. And we're going to talk about rewriting throughout the course of these 6 weeks. But when you are in your own, when you start saying, I can't say that, and you don't even give yourself a chance when we censor ourselves. And so writers should not just automatically, because this is like silencing your own voice. And we talked about it last week. Why are we here if we're not going to use our voices? Why are we here?
Right.
And so, Michelle and everyone, your life is important. Everyone here is a unique, powerful, special human being. No one has had your journey the way you have. No one has your ability to see, to feel. If you have any of those abilities, the fact that you're alive, no matter who you are, no matter what your ability or disability or any of it, there's something that is unique to you.
Indeed.
And your story is unique, so you got to tell it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was also very relatable. Like as you were reading, Michelle, I could certainly see myself in what you were saying. So I thought that was, even the party, like I could think back on some of them that I may not have wanted to go back to, but I'm really glad you shared that story. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the feedback. It's amazing.
So
it also sounded like self-help, like a lot of self-help books.
Exactly.
Make you think about your life.
It's some of the best self-help books, I think y'all would agree, are the ones where people actually put their lives into it. So you also learn from their journey, you know, how to be self-empowered. Am I right, y'all?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, Michelle. It can go in different directions. I said prose and poetry. Y'all just said self-help. I didn't even think about that.
Right.
Well, when I was listening to, I'm sorry, it's Zenzele.
Hey.
Michelle, hi. I was thinking about how in some people, when they hold on to things and always think, what if, it can manifest itself in, mental, disability, when you're holding on to all of that. So when you were reading it, I was thinking about mental health as well, just how these, too much regret compounded for a certain person can manifest itself in, negative ways. And then it's cycling back to how this is a form of self, like care and catharsis to be, writing about it rather than just staying in that place of like, oh my God, what if, like, what if you decided you didn't want to read, or what if you read tonight, wouldn't have heard that. Right. And that was amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, everyone, I want to just encourage you all, rewriting is a big part of it. So just consider, is there something else I can say with this piece for Reed or Michelle? Is there something else I can do now that I've gotten it off? I've gotten some feedback. Are there other things that I'm thinking about as I'm hearing the feedback from people? For those who are just joining us, we said every week we're going to do 15 people. We've only gotten through 2. So I got 13 people to go. Angie Lawson, are you out there? Evangeline Lawson. Angie, hey, are you there?
Hey, I'm here, but come back to because I'm pulling it right now.
Okay, I'm going to keep going then.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
Maybe what you can do is name the person you'd like to actually to speak, and then name the person who will be on deck.
Okay. Right after. Brother D, are you there, Brother D? And then after Brother D, I just saw a hand up. Hold on a second.
Mr. Kevin?
Yeah, Clayton Pelham. So Brother D and Clayton Pelham.
I am actually very new to this. This is my very first class.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you just call me Mr. Kevin? Did you really call me? I appreciate that. Well, it's just Kevin or Kevin.
Okay, Kevin.
Where are you from? Where are you based out of?
I'm coming from Suitland, Maryland. From Suitland, Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland.
Maryland.
PG County.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask. Well, one, I wanted to say thank you to Michelle and to Fareed for sharing. Awesome start to this class. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of these weeks to come. I wanted to ask, you mentioned thinking of your writing in genre. I don't necessarily tend to do that. I tend to allow free writing to form and into whatever genre it's going. Is it a great practice to begin thinking in that way of saying, okay, how do I want this to go? Like, do I want this to be a genre?
Question. Okay. Excellent question. I just write. Sometimes, like I said last week, what I do, Clayton, Can I call you Mr. Clayton? Is that okay?
You can call me Clayton.
CP.
Yes, sir. CP.
In my iPhone, I have a note section where I just write any word, like phrases, words come to me, I put it in there. It used to be back in the day, my little notepads.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go. Sometimes it turns into a poem. Sometimes it turns into an op-ed or what we call a blog. Sometimes it might be a long form essay. You know, I don't know where it's going to go. You know, sometimes it might be an idea for a play that I'm working on, you know. I just say, write, get it out of you, get it out of you, you know, get it out of you. And then I'm reading the chat room too, y'all. Y'all are right. Editing, rewriting. And then you begin to feel where it may go. And it's a personal choice. For me, Clayton, and everyone out there, I love poetry and essays, or what we call blogs today, more than any other genres of writing. Those are my two, that's what I love, you know. And, you know, you have to decide for yourself, this is the kind of writing that I really want to do. And some people can write, you know, when you think about Langston Hughes wrote poetry, he wrote essays, he wrote fiction, he wrote autobiography, he did translations from Spanish, other languages, you know, he wrote children's stories, he wrote a column, you know, he wrote the simple stories. Langston wrote opera, he did musicals, he did, you know, he did librettos. I mean, he just did everything. When you think about James Baldwin, people don't realize James Baldwin didn't just write essays, but he also actually wrote poetry as well. There's a poetry book called Jimmy's Blues out there, you know. And so you got to really decide what you feel comfortable in, Clayton. No one can do that for you, but I want to bring it back and reconnect it back to reading. If you read a lot, you'll start to realize, well, might be where I want to go with this, because I love the way Bell Hooks writes, or I love the way Hemingway writes fiction, you know, and I want to do what they're doing. For me, it was falling in love with Bell Hooks, James Baldwin, Norman Mailer, Joan Didion. I was like, I want to write essays, you know what I mean? And then the poetry also, because of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, all the great poets that came out of there, the Black Arts Movement, the Harlem Renaissance, the beat writers like Ginsberg and Kerouac. That's when I settled on poetry, you know? So it's really a personal choice. No one can dictate that to you, Clayton. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Can you ready to read your piece then? Or you're not going to read a piece?
I don't have a piece. I can share.
Oh, you just want to talk. Okay, right on. Okay, then Brother D, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get Brother. And Clayton, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and come back, please. We need you.
Absolutely, I will be.
Okay, Brother D, introduce yourself. Where you at?
My name is Derwin Brown. They call me Brother D. I'm from the beautiful city of the east side of Oakland, California.
Oaktown.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. I miss the Bay Area, man.
Man, we miss you. I'm at Berkeley High with the Brothers of Talented. We'll be reaching out to you.
Yeah, man. I love the Bay Area so much. I mean, I love California, period, but I miss the Bay, man. I really miss y'all, you know. I'll be back out there soon enough. So what are you going to share with us? Sure. What genre, what kind of writing, brother?
I'm not sure what genre. This is kind of a piece of something that I thought and thinking about my life and writing.
Can you please mute your phones, please, or whatever it is that's ringing, please. Go ahead.
I'm trying to capture my life and like each decade of my life, and this is just one of the reflections. It's kind of almost like written in the style if I was doing a one-man show.
Okay. Okay.
So talking about the city of Oakland. The B word echoes off into an almost magical tone. This was the infamous intro line to one of my favorite childhood songs called Dope Fiend Beat by a local rapper and hometown hero, Todd Too Short Shaw. I remember trying to mimic his cold streets of Oakland mantra with as much preciseness as I could. Seeping right into my cupped Radio Shack headphones, I could almost picture myself standing on East 14th Street corner, posted up and making the entire world come to a screeching halt by calling out this powerfully deadly word. You see, I'm not even about to begin to act like I'm blaming Todd's music for my mentality I developed about women, particularly Black women at a young age. There are numerous songs in a plethora of genres that have all objectified women in many forms and fashions long before hip-hop came into being. I won't even bother going into details at this time. The deeply rooted damage that religion, science, and society as a whole has placed upon women as the problem is a much bigger issue. I was surrounded by pimps, Macs, D-boys, and the like during the most formidable years of my life between the ages of 7 and 16 years old. I was told and shown daily that women were toys to play with at your discretion and disposal. I witnessed some of my hood mentors and even some family mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally abuse their women, girlfriends, baby mamas, and regularly. I was told that this was, quote unquote, how a nigga stayed on top of these bitches. Control was the goal, by any and all means necessary. I used to literally freeze in awe upon seeing some of these dudes backhand slap a woman so hard her bangle earrings flew clear across the other side of the street, or witness her being pushed out of a moving car, punched in the face like a boxer, or stomped out on the sidewalk for not, quote unquote, staying in her place. I couldn't help but look them in their sad eyes, tear-streamed and often bleeding faces.
So weird.
I wanted to cry for them, but couldn't dare. Real niggas don't cry. Child growing up, what must this do to psyche?
One second, Brother D. Folks out there, can you please mute your mics?
I'm not.
Folks, please mute your mics. Please mute your mic. Someone's
Karika, can you mute yourself, please? Karika Nalty, can you please mute yourself?
Please. Someone's reading right now. Sorry, Brother D.
Rape, yes, literal and statutory. Most of the D-boys I knew always had a quote-unquote young tender on the team. Most likely had a chick his age that he already had a couple of kids by. But quite often he also had to have that pretty and thick little 15, 17-year-old girl that was deprived of that solid father figure to be an added toy in his toy box. Most often she came from a broken home and could be found at Eastmont Mall or NB Mall walking around during school hours. The attraction to the flashy lifestyle and perceived freedom from school and shitty personal home lives was far too irresistible for some of these girls. These guys would buy them food, take them to the movies, buy them an outfit, some shoes, even teach them how to drive for the first time. Where these girls thought they were being empowered, they were really being entrapped. These guys were and always are predators. Weak shit. Yeah, I said it.
Wow. That was
So, hey, folks. Y'all are funny. Folks, it's 8:07, so I want to keep moving through it, but Brother D, that was powerful. And folks, what we're going to do from now on is when someone's reading, we're just going to mute all the mics because we can hear stuff we don't need to be hearing.
Yeah.
All kinds of personal stuff we don't need to be hearing. Brother D, what inspired you to write that piece, first of all?
I work with young people, and they want to know about me. And so it's like, of course, like you were talking about the 1800s. I'm 47 now. And I work with high school youngsters. And so we're always juxtaposing. They want to know what was the same and what was different about being 15 or 16 years old back in the 80s as opposed to right now. And most of who were my quote unquote, not necessarily heroes, but role models were what folks call street people. But in an ironic twist, and that was just a piece of a longer piece, one of the first people that ever told me that I was intelligent and smart was a pimp. Wow. He constantly reminded me of this. But at the same time, always sort of threatened me to not get into that street life. Ironically, it was this weird dynamic that we both had, that although he was doing something that was negative, he was the first person that would, to the point that I literally be like, why do you keep telling me this? He was one of the first people that pumped that to me, that I was smart. It would always repeat this mantra about, you're gonna be able to do whatever you want to do. Don't ever let nobody tell you differently. And so that was kind of the inspiration of me looking back at my own life and writing it in these like 10-year blocks. My first 10 years, my second 10 years, my 10, 20, 30s, and now 40s, basically like a reflective piece. And how the city of Oakland, I have this love-hate relationship with the city. It's like almost everything I love about it, I almost hate about it as well.
Wow. Let me say a couple of things because I want to keep moving. And if one or two people have comments for each person reading tonight, let's keep it at one or two because we actually are 8:09 already. And I apologize for that. So everyone who's read, including Brother D, Michelle Jones, and Fareed, please go to the chat room after you read because people are giving you a lot of great feedback, and please check that out. Brother D, I hear it as a blog, as an essay, because as I'm listening to it, I keep hearing the words of Bell Hooks, Audre Lorde, Gloria Steinem, V, who used to be known as Eve Ensler, that sexism will not end until men make it end. And I hear you as a man who's written about masculinity and manhood a lot, as you know, and does a lot of work with men and boys as well around the country. You're questioning some things that a lot of us will never question as men, which I think is important. You're asking, where did this all come from? I'm going to encourage you to keep going deeper, and keep digging deeper and consider it an essay, because that's what I feel like it is. Or it could be part of a memoir, your autobiography, especially since you said I'm dealing with it by decades. When I think about a play or a one-person show, I think more of the language of the way August Wilson would write those monologues, those great monologues for his many plays. Think about, just go back and watch Fences and how the Denzel character and the Stephen Henderson character talk about their lives as men. And that's where you would have to get more into, I would say, the kind of language we were talking about earlier. Where's the metaphors? Where's the alliteration? Things like that. That's not saying that you couldn't do with this as a stage piece, because an essay can easily be translated to a stage piece. But I feel like you have something there that is what we would call in college expository writing. It's an expose about your life, and what you've seen, what you've witnessed, and you're questioning some things that you were taught, which is very important because, again, most of us who identify as men or males never question any of it. So I commend you for doing that. I'm just going to say, keep going, keep going deeper. And if you have not already, yes, bell hooks, yes, read V, because I think what has helped me as a male writer, quote unquote, is hearing the voices of women also questioning, why do we have to suffer through this kind of behavior? And it's very courageous for you to, particularly coming out of the culture that we come out of. I mean, I'm a hip hop head. It was hard for me to actually have to look at stuff that I grew up with and question, like, why is this okay to call women these names? Why is it okay to treat women a certain kind of way? Why is it okay to physically assault women? All the things that we were told that it was okay for us to do. That's courageous, but I want you to keep going. Is that cool? And keep digging and digging and digging and see where this takes you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. And please, again, go through the chat rooms, everyone who's reading. It is 8:12. We got more folks with their hands up. I'm going through it. Evangeline, should I come back to you or keep going? No pressure, no pressure. Grace Beniquez and Gladera Velasquez Sims. Y'all are the next two up. Grace and Gladera. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay. Grace, are you going to keep the Rolling Stone cover up or are you going to let us see you?
Just for today.
It's up to you. No pressure, no judgment.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I go now?
Yeah, you're on now.
Oh, okay. New York.
Yeah, New York. That's what's up. What borough? What part?
Originally from the Bronx.
The BX. Shout out to the BX.
All right. It's called Egg Yolks. I wanted to write verses that blossomed with love, but my muse was in a funk. My muse stayed up late last night and over-caffeinated on the nightly news where propaganda gangsters spew lethal rhetoric. She peered over my shoulder as I scrambled words like egg yolks, looking to serve it up, but she is always one step ahead. She pointed to the daily headlines of tragedy. See how hate consumes the sun? See how so many seek solutions through the barrel of a gun? I pretended not to hear and scribbled, the thought of you makes my heart bloom. She sighed, then stared me down. Do we really need another love poem? My muse hijacked my pen and conspired with rhyme and metaphor, a didactic coup d'etat. There's a noose around the neck of Lady Liberty, placed there by Homeland Security. Take back your tired, your poor. Let the huddled masses drown on your own shores. In fact, take ours too. If you need to smile, open your ears to the sound of children laughing. My muse shook her head in disgust. So much for the revolutionary poet. We wrestled for control, tripping over stanzas, throwing symbols and dodging analogies. There is hope. There is always hope, as surely as there will always be a universe with dreamers and poets seeking to uncover the beauty of truth. Peace is bound, hogtied, and freedom is running scared because justice eloped with violence.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
That's crazy.
Woo. Grace Beniquez. Wow. I'm going to say what folks just said in the chat room. Say the title for us again, now nice and loud.
Egg yolks.
Egg yolks.
I mean, this is what we were talking about a few moments back, just the power of your words and metaphors, playing with language. I assume you consider that a poem. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Beautiful. How long have you been writing poetry?
Ooh, since I was a kid. It was my my outlet. I was very shy as a kid. Didn't talk.
I understand.
Yeah.
When did you realize your voice matters?
When I was in freshman year in college.
Okay.
I actually met Felipe Luciano in high school.
Yes, tell folks who Felipe Luciano is for those who don't know.
He's one of the founders of the Young Lord, and he was also part of the Last Poets.
Yep, that's right.
And then I went to a reading. He actually shared his stage with me at that time.
Oh wow! How did you feel?
I was scared as hell. I mean, I was a kid. Yeah, I was, you know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I think that you absolutely must continue to write poetry. I think your poetry is beautiful. I think it's full of life and possibilities. I love the questioning in it. And I want you to keep pushing with the language. Again, think about metaphors, think about alliteration, all the literary techniques that we've heard in great poems. You know, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about Lucille Clifton. I'm thinking about Sonia Sanchez, you know, some of my favorite poets ever. You know, and I just think that you've got to keep going. Do you have a lot of poems? Do you have a lot of poems? Have you published?
Oh yeah. This is a poem in a book that I'm going to publish.
Will it be your first book?
It's my second one.
Where's your first book at? How do we find it?
The first one is on Amazon. It's called Lazarus Bread, and I worked on this one for quite a while, and
that poetry book, or you mean that poem?
Oh, the book.
Okay.
Well, this is a second collection.
How many poems in the first book, and how many poems will be in the second book?
The first one, I think I'll get that for you because I don't want to eat up time.
Okay. Well, can you post it in the chat room for folks?
I'll put it in the chat. Somebody put it in the chat.
Because we love each other. That's how we roll in here. We support each other. And also,
this is my first time here actually on this.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, Britta from Toronto.
I'm glad I joined in.
You have to publish that poem. You have
it's going to be in the second one coming out in November.
But what I want to say to you and other poets who'll be in the session next week, not just put our poems in poetry books, but also put our poems in publications. That's important too. If we can, ahead of our books being published, but even if it's afterwards, because, you know, one of the things I learned many years ago from the Nuyorican Grace is that, you know, even if you think it's an old poem, when you read a poem, it's new to the people that are hearing it. When they see a poem, it's new to them. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So never consider anything that we write as something that might be old or, you know, that's never the case because someone is new to somebody always. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
We need you. We need you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And folks, I'm willing to go past 9 if folks want to stick around after 9. I mean, I'm here. I mean, Chris, are you okay? And Sadea, can you just let me know if we need to go about 30 minutes longer? Because I just want to get to everyone.
Can I just ask something real quick, Grace?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just sent you something in the chat just to you, but I just wanted to, and I want to say this real quick because I know I go down rabbit holes. We need to cite each other, and Black women, we need to cite each other. And I have a real issue with that aspect in scholarship, but like Grace, I need to cite you. And so what you said was insanely powerful to me, especially.
Yeah. Oh no,
really powerful. Like I could use that right now. And so I want to cite you, and I want to be, whether you're published or not, and there is a way to cite people that are unpublished. And I say this to sisters, to each other, because brothers, y'all already do it for each other. But sisters, what we tend to do is we will take ideas from each other, and if it's not published, we just use it. So I'm saying, like, this is my challenge to us to put each other on the map. When you hear something that a powerful woman of color has to say, use it in your writing and say her name. And there's a way to do that. And so I have decided that even in conversation, when I am in conversation with other powerful women that have stuff to say, I put it in my writing and I will cite it in conversation and put their name out there. So that when you begin to show up in spaces, like people will be like, I don't know where I heard her before, but somebody, like we need to do that for each other. And so in this, I'm saying, Grace, I sent you a little message saying I want to cite something that you said reach out to me so that I know how to do it, how to put it in, even some stuff that I'm working on now. And I say this to sisters out there, just let's figure out how to not act like stuff comes from the osmosis. When you hear it, say her name.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I have to say.
I agree. Wow, thank you. Grace, I sent you my email in the chat as well. Please, hit me up so we can talk too, because I agree. Your work needs to be out there. It's really powerful.
Thank you very much.
All of you who read tonight, powerful work. Gladera and Evangeline, are you two next? Do you still want to go? Both of you, Evangeline Lawson and Gladera Velasquez Sims, are you still out there? Either of you? Anybody? Going once?
No one wants to go now.
Gladera Velasquez.
Yeah, sorry.
She can't mute. Is that you?
I couldn't unmute. I'm here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can go too. I didn't unmute my.
Is that Evangeline? Are you? Okay, so you both are unmuted. You want to go first or Evangeline?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Hey, Michelle Sims.
Evangeline,
out there.
I'll go.
Hey, Angel Miles, I see you.
Hey, Angel Miles.
Ella Chapman, hey.
Did you want me to go, Evangeline?
Yes. You ready? Are you ready? And Chris,
I can go with you, whichever is fine.
Look, Dara, you can go first.
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
Can we center her screen? And where are you based out of, and what genre of writing, if any?
Yes, I'm based out of Ithaca, and this yes, and this is a poem. It's untitled.
Okay, no problem. Ready?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Can we center her, Chris Lopez? Is it possible to center Gladera? Un momento, Gladera.
Okay.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Nena, you caught my eye from the moment I walked into the room and you were there. Your shiny armor blinded me. A love at first sight. I hesitated to approach, intimidated by the fullness of your body, the rigidness of your curves. Could we be a match? I wondered. I don't want to get hurt, but I want to learn how to treat you right. I've read about your type. I want to be careful of getting in a relationship with you that ends up more than I can bite. If I don't give you a chance, I will never know. I will approach with caution, gear myself up. Nana, I know many avoid you, fear the unknown trail they may find when with you. Exuberantly so, I climb onto you, immediately feeling your compatibility. Your height to mine, my body hovered over yours, pushing my hips back. You cradle my love zone. And together we begin to move, the feeling of you between my legs, bumping up and down. I'm holding on for dear life. Getting it up there was hard, sometimes having to switch gears, so to not lose our momentum. But once we got there, coming down blew me away. Reaching that spot, I want to ride away with you, lose myself, of course, with compass always in view.
Wow.
Thanks.
Wow.
Yes.
And that poem is actually about my mountain bike.
It was getting hot in here. Wait a minute. Are you serious?
Yes.
That actually makes it even more genius.
Yeah, that was genius.
Wow.
Genius.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I'm like leaning into the computer, y'all. I'm like, where's this going? What's going on?
My mind was in the gutter.
Me too. Well, you know, it's a pandemic too, Lord Jesus. Gladera, that was brilliant. Wow. I mean, that's what you do with writing. Wow. A mountain bike?
Wow.
That's skillful.
I need to hear it again now.
And everyone, Brother G, Farid, Michelle, Clayton. Oh, no, Clayton didn't read. Grace, can you please post your poems if you're comfortable in the chat room, please?
Absolutely.
Ladera, I have to ask a couple quick questions. How long have you been writing poetry? Brilliant. Wow.
I think for some time I've always found writing as like a way to express myself because
Wait, Gladera, someone just posted, you got us all hot and bothered about a bicycle.
I thought, I'm sorry. You know what? I just got into mountain biking a year ago, and the first thing after I rode the bike was I wanted to write about it.
Wow!
That's awesome.
Wow. Someone else said that poem will sell a whole lot of bicycles. I mean, but that's how you manipulate language. We had no idea. Were you? Wow. Now did you say what it's about? Say that again, Michelle. Say it again, Michelle.
The way she read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Have you read poetry in public before?
Yeah. So I actually my partner hosted like these cipher nights, and I was like, no, I've never read anything in person.
Ortiz? Is Ben Ortiz?
Yes.
What up, Ben?
Yeah, so he hosted cipher nights, and I was like, I kind of mentioned to him, like, yo, I have all these things that I write, and I was like, I've never read it in person, and so he kind of like, you know, like motivated me, hyped me up, and I started doing that, and it was awesome.
I love it. Someone suggested, thank you so much. Someone just suggested that we set up a Facebook group for this writers group. Are y'all cool with that?
Yes.
We have all your emails. Sadea, let's make a note that we're gonna set up a Facebook page, because I also realized we need to have that Facebook page just to announce these sessions. But we'll do that. Ladera, all I can say is please never stop writing poetry. Have you been published anywhere? Ladera, have you been published anywhere? Can you hear me, Gladera? Did we lose her?
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't unmute. No, I have not been published.
You have to. I will make sure, especially for the poets next week, I'm gonna list some places that for you all to start sending your work to. We'll bring a list of stuff that we'll put in the chat room next week. Okay? Is that cool, y'all?
Nice.
I mean, because y'all got to get published. I mean, straight up, everything that I'm hearing tonight, like, yeah, let's get the work out there. Because also when you start to publish, that's how you grow as a writer too. When you start getting that feedback, not just from a writing workshop like this, from people reading your work. That's cool. But wow. Evangeline, you ready? Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
I'm ready.
Okay. We're having a hard time. Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Everyone hear her?
Yes. Let's see.
Okay.
And then you hear me?
It's
yes,
choppy.
no.
It's choppy.
Mm.
The reception's a little choppy. Am I the only one that's hearing choppiness?
No, I hear it too.
I hear it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Samson, just raise.
Oh yeah, everybody else is breaking.
Okay. Is there a way you can move to another room or something, and we come back to you? You'll still be able to read because it's just very choppy. I want people to be able to hear you.
Maybe try to take out video.
Try it without the video, you said, Chris?
Yeah, sometimes it improves the audio.
Yeah. Try it without the video.
Here,
okay.
Is it better without video?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
Very clearly now. You're not
okay,
breaking.
So leave it in that mode?
Yep, just for the reading.
Okay. Evangeline from California. And the title of this is Room. And it's, I guess, an autobiographical essay in that style.
Okay.
Okay. What are you mixed with? They asked when I walked into the room. As if being Black wasn't enough. My eyes darted across the inquisitive faces to avoid eye contact, instead focusing on mouths and shoes. I struggled to answer for a few reasons. One, I hadn't been raised to look at diversity in Blackness. Either you were or you weren't. And second, why couldn't I just be me? In my family, it wasn't rare to have long hair. My sister and cousins shared that same genetics, with some whose hair was even longer than mine. And the freckles that swept across my nose, I had inherited from my Auntie Anne and my great-grandmother. But I guess having that combination with brown skin and tight eyes was odd to them. It just didn't fit, and therefore I didn't. There wasn't any room in their finite world for a girl who looked like me, and I didn't understand. It was not until my friend loudly proclaimed in front of everyone in our lunch circle that I was different because I had a white girl nose that I started to examine myself. My full lips with a sharp Cupid's bow set below that nose with slightly darker pigmented dots across its edge, which started between her eyes, slits, smiled big, lost beneath two bushy caterpillar-like eyebrows that almost met in the middle, almost. The hair, the brown coils that expanded with the humidity and became unmanageable, typically tightly wound into a bun for control in order to avoid embarrassment. All of those features, all of that variation, there just wasn't any room in anyone's mind for that kind of different. At that age, I didn't place an emphasis on physical beauty. I mean, sure, I cared about what I looked like, but I never saw myself as pretty or cute like the other girls at school, with their relaxed hairstyles mirroring those I often saw in music videos or in magazines. I was soft-spoken and awkward, not confident, cool, or commanding. So I decided that beauty wouldn't be my thing, but brains would. That was something that could not be seen to be judged, to become a degree of separation between me and others at first glance. Besides, I had a cute sister with an outgoing personality whose soft curly hair and perfect tooth smile rivaled those that were passing judgment. Two pretty girls that were Black in one family, there wasn't room enough for that anyway.
Wow. 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 How many words is that?
Wow.
Wow.
I think a little over 500.
Wow. That's
I have a bunch of things.
wow. You're all of a sudden. Did we bring her video back or something? Because it got choppy again. I agree with what Sophia Nelson just said. You painted a picture with that. It sounds like a film. Folks are saying snap, snap, snap.
Yep.
Wow. The brutal honesty of it, I love. That's your voice. I love that essay voice of yours. Because again, when we write personal essays like that, it's not just about ourselves, because other people can see themselves in the stories that we're telling as we're kind of reflecting on some part of our lives. And I thank you for that. Someone said simply beautiful, pure truth. Anyone else want to add to it? But I hope that you write a series of autobiographical essays that just kind of explore your journey, because that was beautiful, for lack of a better word. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh in? And we can put our video back on, Chris. Anyone? Yeah.
I'm trying so hard not to keep talking, but.
Who was that? Is that Carla, St. Louis?
No, this is Kimberly. Evangeline, can I?
Oh, Kimberly Jenkins. I'm sorry.
Can I just say, for somebody who grew up hearing my peers that were light skinned, I grew up in Detroit. And so it was the jits versus the preppies. And the preppies were the upper middle class, light skinned girls who grew up on the west side, with Cass Tech and the jitterbugs were light skin, brown skin, doesn't matter, working class Black kids who grew up on the east side. Parents generally, my grandfather came up and raised his family on working at Chrysler. But all his kids in college, but working class Black mentality. And so I grew up with being in that in between, and in between being a jitterbug from the east side and like, but with the intellectual, according to them, intellectual mentality of like the elites and the preppies on the West Side. And so hearing you talk, it was like the same thing. Like I grew up hearing my peers, not even my family, but my peers saying, you know, you're pretty for a brown skin girl, right? And so, my complexion is like between yours and my mom's. It's like in between. So, but that was always an issue. It was always like, you're pretty for a brown skin girl because you got the hair. Not straight hair like my friends, or not like, I didn't have like loose coils, but my hair is like yours, right? But it still wasn't good hair. It was like in between hair. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your poetry, like what you're saying, speaks to a whole generation. It hasn't changed. Like there's a whole, as an elementary school teacher, I remember having these conversations with little brown skinned girls in my classroom in 3rd grade. Like the whole, she light skin, she dark skin, all of that. Like Spike Lee hit it, it has not changed. And so when I hear your poetry, I'm like, you need to keep writing. Like I need access to that type of thing. Like people like me need access to that type of thing as weekly for little brown skin girls in elementary class. I can read your poetry as is in a 2nd grade class, and my little brown skinned 2nd grade girls in the hood would know exactly.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know, the whole pretty for a brown skin girl because you got the hair. Oh God. You sent me back. I just wanted to say you sent me back. I promise I'm not going to say anything else.
Oh, folks, it's 8:37, and we only are halfway through the list, so I just want to be mindful. I'm willing to go past 9 o'clock if y'all willing to hold on past 9 o'clock. Y'all good out there? Okay. Samson, are you still there? Keep going.
Yeah, I'm still there.
You want to,
everyone?
Hey, my brother. Samson's a brilliant filmmaker. I just need to shout him out.
How y'all doing? Post-traumatic. It's like the whole hood has it. Seen too many homies and fam up in the casket. Try to count how many I knew that gotten blasted. Reached 100, then stopped counting. Couldn't stand it. No therapy. We self-medicate. Sex, weed, and Xanax. It's hard to be sober these days. Couldn't imagine. Popo running rampant, popping, unarmed black men. No penalty, they hop scot-free, swearing they panic. Man, the hood damaged. Ribs touching, we famished. But stunting Snapchatting the gram like we lavish. Posting pics with heat cash, bragging about trapping. Funeral time, GoFundMe page. Duke, what happened? Priorities vanished before pants started sagging. 80s crack era, left many tribes of bastards. I was one that poisoned the hood when I had it. So I apologize. Didn't realize the havoc.
Wow. 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 I mean, visual as heck, probably because you are a filmmaker as well, you know, and I actually hope that you set that to a film, because that was, I mean, like someone said in the chat room as you were reading, the first line alone, bro, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, buckshots, it's like boom, you know, and I always say that a great piece of poetry should be like, or great music, because poetry is music to me, should be like that piano out the window. And that's what that poem is, because it's just like, here is what it is. You know what I mean? And I love it. What inspired you to write it?
My latest documentary about gun violence in the Black community, where I use myself to be like a self-commentary. To use as a micro into the macro. And that's a true fact. I remember when I was in prison, I tried to count everybody I knew that got shot and killed.
Wow.
It was kind of boring that day. And I said, I stopped counting at 100. I could have kept going. And that's not normal.
Wow. It is not normal. You know, and so when we hear people say, let's return back to normal with this pandemic, I mean, what is normal depending on who you are, where you come from, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you read a lot of poetry?
Not so much. But I listen to a lot of rap.
Which is poetry.
Right.
Like the DOC said, rhythmic American poetry. That's what rap is, rhythmic American poetry.
Right.
I loved it. I would even say, man, keep writing it, because, again, like I said earlier, when I think about monologues, because that also could easily be a monologue, that's the kind of piece that could be a monologue for a play. You know what I mean? It's just like you think about, we're expressing ourselves, we're talking about what we've experienced, and clearly it came from things that you witnessed. If I could just segue for a second, someone asked me privately, I hope they're still in the room, that this space feels like it's for only experienced writers. I just need to stress, a lot of people are reading work for the first time tonight, and so there's a range of experiences. What I said up front, I'll say every week at the beginning, in the middle, the end, this space is for everyone. We treat everyone equally. We don't care if you've been published. We don't care if you have a screenplay that's been made into a film, if you have a play on stage, if you've got a PhD, if you've got a GED, if you've got no degree, no diploma, there's no judgment. Can we agree, y'all? No judgment, right? No judgment. But the question that was asked, will there be instructions for how to write with more metaphors? Yes, definitely, particularly next week when we do the poetry workshop. And I really actually encourage you all, even if you're not a poet, because even if you're writing essays, even if you're writing screenplays, I mean, when I think about, and you appreciate this, Samson, when you go back to Denzel Washington's performance and Viola Davis's performance, which she won the Oscar for in Fences, but particularly listen to the metaphors, the language that is used. People forget that before August Wilson wrote plays, he actually wrote poetry that's very similar to the kind of poem that Samson just read, And so, yes, no, this is not the wrong platform if you're a beginning writer, no experience. This is a platform for everyone. The person who asked that question, if you're still here, just ask. If you have a question, just jump in and say, Kev, how do we write? How do I do metaphors? How do I do alliteration? What does that mean? How do I write a haiku? Just ask the question. This is a safe space, no judgment. There's no shame in asking, because all of us are teaching each other. That's why this is intentionally interactive. Is that cool, y'all? Because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable here, like this is not a space for them. All right? Don't get caught up in some people are published, some people are not. This is not that kind of space. We're not getting down like that here. We just want people to feel comfortable sharing their work. And hopefully from these 7 weeks that we all grow in some form or fashion. I know I am just listening to you all. Samson, thank you. And I do think you should make that into either you or someone else do the voiceover for it. And that should be a film as well, because it's powerful with the images. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And to the person asking me the question, and I would say to Samson and other folks who are writing poems, metaphors. Like, what can I say that even pushes the language even more as I'm writing this poem? All right, y'all. Let me see. We are at our 8th person. So I see up Kimberly Jenkins and Lugera Cooper and Andrea Price. So I'm getting to y'all hands. So Lugera Cooper, Kimberly Jenkins, and Andrea Price. Are y'all ready? Y'all still want to perform? Read? I'm sorry. Y'all good out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Woo, we're getting through it.
Who's going first?
And Samson, post the poem in the chat room so folks can see. And folks, please share your social media handle if you're comfortable with it, and social media as well for folks, because people are asking how can we stay in touch with each other. We'll definitely have the Facebook group too. We'll have it up by the end of the week. Who's going? I'm sorry, who's going?
Who's going first?
I just went, let's do Lugera Cooper. Lugera, am I saying your name right? Is it Lajira or Lugera?
Lajira.
Lajira, I remember that. Lajira Cooper, then Kimberly Jenkins, then is it Andrea or Andrea Price?
Andrea, I'm from the deep South, so it's Andrea.
Andrea.
Yes.
What part of the South are you from?
I'm from Arkansas.
Arkansas. Oh, wow. What city?
Monticello, Arkansas. I live in Virginia right now, but I'm from Arkansas.
Oh, you in the DMV. All right. Okay. Cool. So Lujira Cooper, then Kimberly Jenkins, then Andrea Price.
Yes.
My bad. Andrea Price. Yes, ma'am. All right. What are we doing?
It's called The Day Of. It's reported by Lacey Ramos for Charisma News.
Can we center Ms. Cooper, Brother Chris Lopez? Can we center her? 1 second. So everyone can see you.
Oh, please. I don't want to be seen.
We can see you.
I want to be heard, but I don't want to be seen.
You have a great voice.
Thank you kindly. Anyway, it's called The Day Of. It's reported by Lacey Ramos for Charisma News. Just before dawn, during the preparations for the 25th anniversary of the landing on Charisma, the unexpected happened. A prison ship found its way into Charisma space, offloaded with 500 purple-suited, emaciated men and women. Captain John Longfellow, a small, rotund man, had them stand aside as he claimed the planet for the Federation of United Countries. Shackled, they looked around with nervous apprehension. Quadrant leader Defiance Moore asked who they were and what this so-called federation wanted. Upon being informed Charisma would be a prison colony, she said, "Hell no, it won't."
Wow.
She stalked off to call the planet's military leader, her great-grandmother, Rihanna Moore. Commander Moore and her lawyer wife, Lauren McCutcheon, arrived at the landing site in their black and teal sky car. Nearly 6 feet tall, Moore towered over Longfellow. His bullying tactics did not work on her. Unilaterally, she told the former prisoners they were welcome here. She ascertained the allegations against them according to Longfellow, were for acts of terrorism, writing pamphlets denouncing the regime of Hawkins, and taking over government buildings. Also, Defiance and Longfellow said this was to be Botany Bay-like. To that she said never, and called for a full meeting of the Wisdom Council. The 7-member council convened in the historic Rose Auditorium, adorned with stained glass portraits of Charisma's Queen Adriana and pictures of Earth's heroes, Frederick Douglass, Nelson Mandela, Eli Wiesel, and heroines Sojourner Truth, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Harriet Tubman. Residents and newcomers sat waiting the council's decision. The council heard Moore's impassioned plea to allow them to remain. One reason was residents, this was 25 years is too long to remain isolated. We need new blood. She also stated, now that Hawkins knows we're alive, he'll rush here and be destroyed. Earth historian Roscoe Pettiford explained the constant footage of the Frederick Douglass destroyed in space. He said it was a way to keep people in line and show the people no one could escape. The speech is over. Moore exited the room and the council as the council deliberated. Hearing they unanimously voted to allow the newcomers to remain, Moore gathered those to transport to Amethyst City, her home base. This was a day of liberation.
Wow. Wow. When did you write that piece, and what genre would you consider that piece?
It's science fiction. I wrote it last week for a prompt for my writing play shop, because I don't do workshops. It's part of a longer story, but it's a news clipping to the actual events of what happens.
Wow. Wow. When you say play shop, you're talking about a different play shop, not this play shop.
No, this is how you say workshop, I say play shop.
So this is our play shop? I got you. I'm with it.
No, but I don't use that word, workshop. Workshop implies work.
Okay.
I want people to play with words.
I love that. Jara, thank you. Wow. So you literally just wrote that piece?
I wrote that piece last week for a prompt I gave somebody else.
Oh wow. Do you know how many words that is, or how many pages that is?
It's 1.5 pages, so I'm not sure. Probably about 250, because it is supposed to be a news clipping, so it's going within the story that's there. And because when Moore discusses the Federation of United Countries, she never calls it that. She just calls it fuck. That's why reading it is no fun, because you have to see it,
Wow. I love the way you play with, what I've loved about the whole night, including your piece, LaJara, is just y'all are in so many different structures, so many different genres or cross genres. And this is, wow. Who did you read coming up that inspired you to move towards science fiction?
I've read so many people, and I read a lot of, first of all, this is part of my Charisma story, which actually started 7 years ago, where people escape Earth because of a regime coming up. So this is very kind of prophetic.
I'd like to escape Earth.
Thank you. Where's their charisma? But I read Octavia Butler. Right now, my favorite reading is J.D. Robb because she has this in-depth series.
Yes.
And I'm trying to do the same thing. I wrote Theft of Trust. I just submitted Theft of Honor to a publisher. So I'm doing the charisma piece, and then I write blogs for the Brooklyn Society of Ethical Culture. So I'm just all over the place.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, I love the way your mind moves with that piece you just shared. Is that going to be a part of a larger piece, or?
Yeah, it's part of it's part of the charisma book. I haven't figured out what we're calling that book yet, but it's a very strange planet. It sort of cloaks itself. It has iron storms and it red snow. I mean, it's a very weird planet. I love it though. It's very visual, talking about something being visual. That's my planet is very visual.
Well, you know what I love about the piece, like Jerry, I mean, you know, writers have to have an imagination. You know, I don't care what genre you write in, you have to have an imagination. And you took us some places that I really appreciate. And you also made it relevant, not just to history, but also to our present times. And it also, to me, is foreshadowing, you know, because at the end of the day, as I was listening to your piece, I kept hearing the word freedom. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for us, you know? I think powerful, and I want to hear more. I want to hear more. I can't wait to be this series. Just thank you. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome.
And I do see you. Can y'all see her too? See the and I love the art behind you as well.
That's to hide my junky room.
Oh, you don't want to see what the floor looks like underneath me. That's why I understand. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Kimberly Jenkins, KJ, you're next.
Okay, I'm coming up. Can I just real shout out to all the Afrofuturism people out there? Like,
yes.
I'm so loving it.
Yes.
Can y'all please publish so I can have more to read? I'm loving it.
The futurism is beautiful. Yes.
Just loving it. Okay, so this is a work in progress. Forgive my
preface.
Work in progress.
Okay.
Preface. Okay. It's just 3 paragraphs. Prologue. She flipped her dreadlocks, which I found ironic as her Afrocentrism was only a facade. Perhaps a representation of a silenced narrative, unlived, unfortunate. What she didn't understand was that she didn't need to send me up the river. Her words and toxic environment of her own oppression was river enough. She hoped, what white women would do to me had not been done, but had been reoccurring and survived down through 3 generations of Black women in the US education system since Reconstruction. It has only been repeated daily in the Jim Crow boxed in, locked down style in which we have been conditioned and now educate our own children. She, in her own hijacked self-awareness, believed I had somehow escaped such experiences of being regulated and reminded of my niggerness. She, feeling some kind of way about it, remanded the sharing of my own scholarship and exchange of scholarship with others, those who expressed interest and had skin in the game to share as well, to overstepping my Blackness and dismiss my confidence and articulation as wannabe whiteness. All that added up to her, in fact, was one fact as far as she was concerned. I needed to learn my place in the status quo, conditions under which we teach our own. Shut up. Hold on, my space.
Take your time.
Okay. All right. Shut up. Keep a head down. Don't be too headstrong. Dress and wear liberation garb, but don't be about it. Freedom, however, is not in the apparel. Agency does not develop in the hearts and minds of young Black people forced to walk down the halls along heel toe on a red line, drawn down hallway floors of schools with bubbles and hugs, their arms wrapped around themselves as a physical form of self-restraint and mouths full of air to keep them from speaking as they are moved from one section of a place to another. Wearing dreadlocks as she oversees their compliance suggests only hypocrisy. I suppose she heard me speak the language of her apparel as she spoke the language of mine. I never needed to wear Mother Africa on my sleeve. I am fully aware of who I am and the historical context of my identity, whether my swag incorporates pinstripes and red bottoms or kente and cowrie shells. I've rocked both. My students recognize me same woke lover of their intellectual souls, either or.
Wow. You said it's a prologue?
That was a prologue to the piece that I'm working on is called Blackness as a Language of Resistance, an Ontological Assembly of Voice. And it's I don't know what it is yet, but the prologue is a breakdown of all of my experiences of the various points that I want to discuss in the piece. And I've broken it down to a language of the curriculum and shaping of teacher imaginations, and resistance, and then sort of a assemblage of voices of color in how education, you know, is a form of apologetics, or Black education has become a form of apologetics, but not just Black education, but education of those African Americans, Black folk of the diaspora, First Nations. You know, it's almost as education as a consistent piece of colonialism. And so, but I wanted to, I'm tired of talking about what white folks do. And I kind of wanted to talk about what Black folks do. And what Black folks do to perpetuate that same mind, colonialism mind, that perpetuation of hegemony that they don't even realize they're perpetuating by keeping other people in line. And it's a fear of the apple cart. And so that was just sort of a prologue of an experience that I had of a woman that I really trusted and thought was going to help shape my space in K-12. But instead, she ended up kind of turning on me. But not just me, just I wasn't by myself in that. And there are many experiences that I have of that. And so I kind of wanted to shape this personality of like an unsuspected or self-unsuspecting overseer, so to speak.
You know,
and so that was it.
No, I thought it was powerful. I want to echo what Fareed said in the chat room. You know, your piece sharply frames institutional rejection.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I've thought about in my own life, and I'm sure other folks out there who are scholars, who are educators in some way, even folks who have children in the educational system, whatever level it is, you know, is this a space of freedom or is this a space of further oppression? You know what I'm saying? And I think you frame it. You left me wanting to read more. I'm like, can we have more and more? Can we have the whole piece? It's coming.
It's coming. I'm working on it.
Okay.
It sounds like.
Legere?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It sounds like you're saying that it's for a paper, but what it also sounds like is the prologue to a book.
I agree. It got.
That's what I thought of when you started. It gave me that whole. I thought of The Handmaid's Tale, and I thought of all this stuff where there's all this.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, that back to what you were saying, that Afrofuturism, and now this shows how we do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you have to go for it, because a lot of times we'll say, well, it's just this, but I'm like, well, why can't it be a whole book? You know, I just think that, and as I've heard you speak over these 2 weeks, Kimberly, it's like, you know, you're clearly one of our brightest minds out of academia, period. I mean, I don't know you other than the last 2 weeks, but I'm listening. I'm serious. You know, I mean, there's a lot of fakers out there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And so we need, Fareed is funny. We need to, the folks who truly are progressive, no matter what their identities, we need to hear those voices. Because as I've said to some of the writers privately here, a lot of times those of us who really have something to say, we squash our voices. Then we got other folks speaking for us or speaking for our situations, and they're not even qualified to do it. You know, they haven't lived what Samson's lived. They haven't done the work you've done on the academic level, Kimberly. We need to hear your voices. Y'all feel what I'm saying? That's important. So please keep writing that. And I think it is a book. I agree with Lajara. It's 9 o'clock and we got 5 more to go. I want to call up, we got Miss Price next, and then Marissa Benson, Kay Hernandez, and Andrew Scarrett. If y'all are all still here, can y'all still hold on? I'm good. I'm losing my voice, but I'm good. Okay, so Ms. Price, then Marissa Benson, then Kay Hernandez, and Andrew Scarrett. All right.
All right. Thank you, Kevin, for this workshop. So my poem is short and sweet.
All right.
So here it is. You sent me into exile, into a land I've never known. I kneeled in prayer and worship, trying to understand what's going on. You said you had plans for me and they will prosper too. You give me hope in the future that you want me to use. I feel alone and helpless in this land I've never known. I pray and seek to find you, my love for you I've shown. Help me to make meaning of a world that is so cold. Release me from captivity and make me a new home.
Wow. That sums up 2020.
Exactly. That's what I wrote it from this space. So,
When did you write the piece? Wow.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I literally wrote like 10 poems that day. I had to get
You wrote 10 poems in one day?
I had to get all of it out that day, and this is one of them.
So you are a poet?
I just write. I don't have any kind of, I write a lot of prayers, I write poems, I write prose, all kind of different things. But that day I wrote a lot of poetry.
What poets do you love?
Well, as I said before, I'm from Arkansas, so I fell in love with Maya in 4th grade. I saw another Black woman from Arkansas, in rural Arkansas, a country girl that actually wrote a book. So she was the first poet and writer I fell in love with, and that love hasn't left. And my Aunt Sophie.
Your Aunt Sophie?
Yeah, she was the poet at the church that I really fell in love with her writings as a young girl too. And she's always
she would write poems and perform them at the church, the local.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Keep writing those poems. Keep digging for metaphors and alliteration, and keep telling your truth. We need you. Seriously.
Thank you.
Do you call yourself a writer?
I do.
Okay. Do you call yourself a poet specifically, ever?
I just say writer. I just write all kind of things. But yeah, so I've been writing a lot of poems since I've been here with COVID at home.
Okay.
I had time to write. Now I tore my Achilles playing basketball, so I was kind of there too. You sent me into this place where I'm like a 40-year-old basketball player tearing my Achilles. So I'm recovering from an injury in the middle of all of this.
Wait, you said you're a how old basketball player?
40-year-old. I was playing at the Y. So.
No judgment. So you grew up playing basketball?
Yes, and so I was playing right before COVID hit. So I've been here with COVID and injury. So yeah, it's been crazy this summer.
But it's allowed you to become prolific.
Yes.
That's a blessing. Yes. Wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, keep writing. And remember, did you know the name of the poet from Arkansas I mentioned earlier, Henry Dumas?
Yes, from Little Rock. I've read some of his stuff. So his story is tragic. So yeah, I'm all up in it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to respond to Ms. Price real quick?
All I have to say is cool.
I love that. That's a cool, that's a good word, cool.
Thank you.
Marissa Benson, are you there? Kay Hernandez, Andrew Scarrett, are y'all there? Marissa, Kay Hernandez, Andrew Scarrett, y'all good out there? I appreciate y'all holding on. I think we may have lost some folks.
Hi, I think I can unmute now.
Hey,
hi, everyone. Thank you so much for all of this event and your words, and thank you for the structure of this too, the organic structure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna read tonight a bit of my piece called Complacency. It was written in honor of Yusuf Kuminyaka, a Dutch poet, a Pulitzer Prize winning writer, and a poet who I had the good fortune to honor twice, as he lives in Trenton, New Jersey. I live in Ewing, right outside of Trenton. And it's my piece called Complacency.
Thank you.
Complacency. My white face breathes complacency, hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. Hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. August 6, 2018, Washington, D.C. August 6, 2018, Washington, D.C. American sanctions go into effect in Tehran, Iran. This measure will affect millions, deepening inequality, uplifting hardliners, more freedoms, are oppressed as things become expensive. Inside the sanctions, I see a man's tear. The bandages needed for his sister's wound are no longer affordable. He wonders how much longer she will live. He wonders how much longer she will live. Complacency. My white face breathes complacency, hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. April 21st, 2004, Basra, Iraq. April 21st, 2004, Basra, Iraq. American radioactive bomb blast, rubble remains, poisoned soil, poison food. Cancer expands as the food is digested in the body. The stomach and head start to ache. Sleeping becomes a challenge. The shakes, the quakes, the blast. Action made our gas prices more affordable. The price of art's criminal.
Wow.
Complacency. My white face breathes complacency, hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. September 22nd, 2018, Trenton, New Jersey. September 22nd, 2018, Trenton, New Jersey, Trent House. Slavery still exists in America. We stand upon land steeped in history, steeped in slavery. Feel the wind. Imagine their spirits. Close your eyes. Open them. Within today's prison system, slavery transition, corporations control human freedom now. This prison system is known as convict leasing, as convicts are leased to corporations to lift profits up. State governments are following their lead. What will it take for humans to be rehabilitated and freed? What will it take for humans to be rehabilitated and freed? Complacency. My white face breathes complacency, hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. 165 countries, 165 countries. My passport grants me visa-free access, at least prior to COVID, to 165 countries where, due to my skin color, if I decide to reside, I become an expat, not an immigrant. If I decide to reside, I become an expat, not an immigrant. Safety is granted as a privilege one can afford when it should be a human right. Safety is granted as a privilege one can afford when it should be a human right. No passport, no country, no passport, no country. Safety does not exist for an 8-year-old child trapped at the border, viewed as a criminal. This child stays awake tonight. Praise. She will not get raped tonight. Can you find her a passport and bring her to safety? Can you find her a passport and bring her to safety? Complacency. My white face breathes complacency, hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. Hidden in the blue hue privilege of my passport that labels me American. Thank you so much for the space. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
No, I tell you, Larissa and Brother D earlier, Larissa with race, skin privilege, Brother D with gender privilege around masculinity. Thank you both for challenging privilege, seriously, because that's, wow. We need what we call in the active circle protest poetry, you know, particularly in these times, that are going to have the courage to challenge all the systems of oppression, all the isms, all the phobias, all the things that oppress people, that discriminate against people, that hate people, that hate on people. And just thank you. As someone said, Melissa, I love the call and response of it, which is one of our traditions as poets. I love the historical references and I love the current events. And I mean, you know, when someone said the blue hue of my passport that makes me American, just the constant repeating of that. Yeah. Has that poem been published? Can you hear me? Has that poem been published? Marissa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're.
It's in the process.
Is it in a book form? Is it in your? Oh God, I'm having a hard time hearing. Did we lose you?
Yes. I think I'm on.
No, you're
Okay, maybe I froze.
If you keep the video off for a second. Yeah.
I'm in the process of recording it to put it in music form. Oh, one more.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. What inspired you to write it?
Yeah, it's okay.
What inspired you to write it? I think we're having some Zoom issues, y'all. I apologize, Marissa, if you can hear me. We're having some Zoom issues. Marissa, if you can hear us, just look at the comments.
Am I on now?
Okay. Marissa, if you can hear me, please put your.
Am I on now? Hello? Oh, okay. Use up some baby. Okay. No problem.
Marissa, you're very. It's very like.
No problem.
Audio.
I'll write both.
Okay, if you can post.
Yes.
If you can post into the chat room so people can read it. That was a powerful piece. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can we unmute Kristen Sadea, K. Hernandez? We got K. So I'm going to call the names up. This is the last four folks: K. Hernandez, Andrew Scarrett, Michelle Sims Burton, and Lakeisha Washington. That's the last four. Okay, in that order: K. Hernandez, Andrew Scarrett. We can't. Who's speaking? Is that Kay Hernandez? Oh boy. Kay Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay. Marissa, if you could just mute because it's too choppy.
Can you hear me?
Kay Hernandez, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're clear. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, nice and clear. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
What are you going to read? What genre?
I'm in Virginia, and I guess it's autobiographical.
Marissa, if you can just turn your mic off because we're up to the next person now that's going to read their piece. Just turn your mic off, please. Can we mute everyone, Chris? Actually,
she's muted. It must be a latency thing.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Kay Hernandez, can you hear me? Go right ahead, please.
Yes, and I appreciate you guys being here. I tell you, this is the best 2 hours of the week for me. And my first name is Khalil. Okay. I just have K up there on my account. My piece is called Sunday Morning.
Sunday morning, yes.
Sunday, a very meaningful day for me for a lot of reasons. But the one I want to talk about today is the pancakes and fried apples.
Yeah.
As a child, Sunday mornings meant freshly cooked salt pork, super crispy to nibble on while we waited for from-scratch pancakes and fried apples sliced by hand. I was just tall enough to have the top of my head reach the countertop, and I'd lean against it on one leg next to my mother as she cooked, and fiddled with the dishcloth that hang next to the oven. Watching the pan or watching my hands, I'm sorry, let me start that again. Watching the pan or watching her hands or watching her watch me, I fiddled patiently. Back then, you lined a plate with paper grocery bag to drain the excess fat from the cooked salt pork for a while before it was served. I'm sure it only took a few minutes time for it to rest there before I was given a piece. I swear it felt like an eternity with me marking the time by how much brown paper bag wasn't soaked with grease. Waiting, I could feel the salt on my skin carried with the heat wafting over my face. The stove was hot, and my mother was somehow able to watch me closely as she sliced apples and spiced them with cinnamon, a little salt, and something else. To this day, the aroma of bacon and cinnamon sends me to a comfortable place where the Sundays are endless and it's always just me and her. Finally, she hands me a piece of salt pork, so crisp with the fatty edge, still shiny and plump with fat. I grab it by the crispy edge. I didn't really like salt pork. I ate it because I was hungry, and she would hand it to me with a look that said that this was the best piece. It was always so strong. The sting from the salt always poked me right in the middle of my forehead. My mother and grandmother made it religiously to keep the masses satiated and out of the kitchen while they cooked. Salt still lingered in the air and mingled with hot cinnamon, turning syrupy sweet. The pancakes were done before I knew it, and even though everyone would sit down to eat, I felt like the meal was just for me, with my seat right next to hers, and my feet not touching the floor. I forgot everything else, at least for a little while.
Whew. Wow. Can we unmute? Can we unmute everyone? Can we unmute, please? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
I'm hungry now.
I am too.
Oh, me too.
Hey, Hernandez.
That took me right to grandma's house.
Yeah.
Hey, Hernandez, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I mean, do you write fiction?
I do write fiction.
Has it been published?
That has not been published except for on my Medium account.
Okay. Now, have you written a book yet?
I have not finished one, and there are a few that are unfinished. So I'm working on those. I'm trying to get back to that routine of sitting down and actually doing it. So
that was some of the most descriptive fiction writing that I've heard in a long time. Seriously, that was,
thank you so much.
Wow. Someone just wrote, I ain't.
I don't even eat pork.
Someone just said, I don't even eat pork, but you know, hey. So you're a fiction writer. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, sir, I am.
So what we need to do to get your fiction out there?
Well, I think it's on me to just kind of finish it, you know, and you know, I'm just kind of coming back from some stuff because that piece was inspired by my mother passing.
I'm sorry.
And
I understand. Take your time.
Really, that was just me trying to exercise some of my feelings about it.
It was such a beautiful homage to your mother. That was just some beautiful writing. Seriously.
Thank you so much.
It was love. Is it a short story or is it going to be a full novel that is from?
Well, that's actually a memory.
Okay.
I was starting to say, because Kate, are you sure that's fiction? Because that's my childhood. That's my childhood in my grandmother's kitchen. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Really? That's reality.
Wow.
It's a series that I'm just kind of labeling a childhood memory series because after her death, I felt so bogged down that I had a hard time thinking about her. So I tried to break it up in small pieces to be able to, you know, just kind of come to terms with her not being here anymore.
Wow. Yes. Wow. Well, were you in this workshop last week when we were talking about, you know, writing as healing for us as part of our mental health journey? Were you here last week?
I sure was, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to honor our ancestors. That's the way to do it, the people who came before us. Yeah. If you have a gift, like all of you who have read today, all of y'all who have these incredible gifts, I mean, whether you're experienced or not, whether you've ever read before or not in front of people, I just thank you. And I hope that you keep going, because I don't even like to compare people to, you sound like this person, you sound like that person. What I will say, like, you and everyone else here sounds like a great writer just waiting to explode out of whatever you got to explode out of. That's what I will say. You know, and that includes you, Kay Hernandez. Just thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And, you know, experiencing trauma just kind of made my creativity go dormant for a very long time. And,
I understand.
So I really appreciate all y'all for being here.
Yeah, and I mean, just think of all the lives that you will touch as you get this work out there. You know, be it your fiction piece, or Marissa or Samson's poems, or the prologue that's going to be a book, right, Dr. Kimberly Jenkins, the whole book that you're going to do, and the great science fiction series that LaJara is going to do. You know what I mean? And the great autobiographical essays that Evangeline Lawson's going to do. Just all of y'all. Just think about how many lives you're going to touch as your work gets out there. You know.
Yes.
That's important. So, you know, please keep writing, because we need to hear your stories, because in your personal stories, you clearly are touching other people just in this room. So imagine how many more people you'll touch as you get published. All right.
Yes, sir. I thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Andrew Scarrett. Andrew, am I saying your name right? Andrew Scarrett, Michelle, Dr. Simmons Burton, Michelle Simmons Burton. I want to get that right, because y'all who got those PhDs, y'all earned those PhDs.
That's right.
And Lakeisha, you're going to close us out. Y'all all right? We still holding on?
We holding on.
All
you
right.
holding on, baby? Keep holding on.
I'm good. I'm blown away by all this genius, like this y'all sharing. Like, wow. Whew. Okay. Ready? Andrew, are you there? Did we lose Andrew? He had said he was here. Well, you know, Chris Lopez, Andrew was saying he couldn't unmute earlier. Thank you, Kay Hernandez. That was powerful. Thank you.
I'm hungry.
Yo tengo mucho hambre. Sí, yo necesito comer. I'm on a juice fast, y'all, too. So that was real hard to hear Kay Hernandez. I was like, yo.
I absolutely love
Yeah, what day fast?
I'm on day 22. I was having flashbacks to when my mother and I would eat pig's feet straight up.
The funniest thing.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Andrew, where you at? What you gonna read? What
Okay.
genre?
Nonfiction, an essay.
Awesome. Where you based out of?
Tallahassee, Florida.
Florida in the house. All right.
Yeah.
Hey.
The final crossing. He emerges in the distance, a shadowy figure set against a fast darkening sky. His gait and his outline are at once unrecognizable and a mystery, reassuring yet disconcerting. We are familiar strangers. All summer, we share the sidewalk. He walks west, I run east. His stroll home is a compulsory journey. Mine is exertion as exercise. It is my price for a job that requires me to sit all day. I jog for 2 minutes. I run for 2 minutes. It is my evening routine. I jog with my eyes on the pavement. Each slab of concrete is a measure of achievement. To look too far ahead is to be dismayed by the distance. It is to be daunted by the challenge. Visually, I can only take one step at a time. It is also a physical limitation. Whenever I contemplate many steps required of me, whenever I sneak a look ahead, it quenches my will. My jog gives way to a stride, then a stroll. My heart rates drop, my mind races. Creative ideas roll around in my mind. Still, I press on in my blue shoes until they become untied. I bend over at the curb. He comes into view. His arms swing, his shoulders sway, his head bobs. He's alone. No dog is tethered to his arm. Despite the fading light, his approach is unmistakable. He's stocky, about 200 pounds, 5'4" or 5. His shoulders are built as if he played high school football. He leans left as if his right shoulder is bigger than his right. His gait is a cross between the cha-cha and a jig. He devours the distance between us with a force my aging legs and knees cannot match. I hear his voice. He's singing. He always sings. I have made my conclusions about him. He's on his way home. Songs lift the burden of a long workday. Our encounter is fleeting. The time it takes for strides to coincide. We usually nod in acknowledgement of each other. We both deploy the black man's code of coexistence, invisible to everyone else, but not to each other. Long after we cross, his cologne lingers heavy in the humid North Florida air. I envy the aroma and strength of his favorite fragrance. He has taken great pains to erase the scent of food from his pores and clothing. He carries a freshness. It is as if he had showered and changed after work. I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know his name. I have constructed a persona in my head. I am no profiler. Neither am I psychic. I rely on intuition and observation. He's walking home because he doesn't have a car. He doesn't own a car because he cannot afford to buy one. He cannot afford to buy a car because his job pays too little. Those are my assumptions. They come from the vantage point of my privilege. One black man who walks for exercise scorns another black man who walks in order to get home.
Nice.
Wow.
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 That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Have you been published, Andrew? I'm gonna
I must confess. I must, because
that's good.
Yeah, historically I'm a journalist, but I've got some essays published in Michigan Quarterly and everywhere. But I've been looking for a writing community when I stumbled on this, and I said yes. This is
wow. Thank you. Please go right ahead.
And this was just from running in the evening. There was a guy who kept, but it's about 1,500 words, and it sort of deals with the fact that I think it was Halloween, when it was going to get dark really early. I stopped and I asked him who he was, and because we had walked by each other all summer without talking. And
wow,
I had all this, So that's where that piece came from.
It's a really beautiful piece of writing, and
thanks.
And I love the use of the bodies as imagery in this piece. That piece hasn't been published?
No. I wrote it, and I usually write stuff and let it sit and then come back to it. And the amazing thing, I won't take too long. I hadn't seen him all year. Since Halloween last year, I hadn't seen him at all. Ran into him while I was running yesterday morning. He said he had hip and knee surgery because he had arthritis, and so he hadn't been walking home all year. Yeah.
Did you get it? Do you know his name now?
Yes. I've got his phone number too. His name is Frank.
He's like,
Frank Close.
You're like, I'm not playing. I got this.
But thanks very much. This stuff.
Where's your family from originally?
I grew up on Montserrat. Yes.
Wow.
And I'm a Bison. I don't want to say too loud, but but I came to go to Howard.
Howard is a lot of Howard University. Well, Hampton University is out there too. All right.
Yeah.
Andrew, please keep writing. The poetry of that piece was absolutely striking.
Thanks. And I've got a book on, and I'll post the name of my book.
Please share the link with us.
Yes.
And we should, for the essay blog writers out there as well, we're going to talk about publishing. We will share some suggestions for y'all over the next couple of weeks of places that you should submit your work to around the country. Is that cool? And even overseas,
yes.
All right?
Yes.
Excellent work. We need to hear your voice. That was a great piece of writing.
I'm shopping for an agent too, because I've got stuff. Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the agent world, all of that stuff in the coming weeks for sure. Cool. So,
Kevin, can I say something? This is Angel.
Who's speaking?
This is Angel.
Hey, Angel. Dr. Angel. Hey.
Hi, everybody. I'm really just been sitting back enjoying every minute of this. I feel like I'm watching a show or performance that's, on TV or something. And so I wanted to go back to something that you said that someone said to you in a message about, this being for certain types of writers. And I do want to acknowledge that, like, there's so many brilliant people that have spoken that I could see why someone might feel intimidated, because everybody that shared today feels really talented. And I think that's great. And I just want to encourage people, that regardless of where you are in your writing, because sometimes the first people who will share are sometimes the people that, feel most confident about the writing or who are more experienced or whatever. And so I want to make sure that, like, that everybody feels like they can share no matter where they are in their writing experience, because we're all here to support each other. And I wrote a little rinky-dink poem. I'm not going to share it, but I
don't call it rinky-dink.
Yeah, right.
I just wanted to say,
no rinky-dink.
I don't want anybody to feel intimidated because I feel intimidated, and I have a PhD. Is what I'm saying. Like y'all are killing it. So
someone just said your poem matters. Okay, Hernandez just
Right.
But you know, Angel's right, because a lot of times the folks, I mean, and I don't want to, I don't know where people's swagger level is, confidence level is. I just think that, you know, again, no matter where you are, and this, Angel, thank you for saying that, because I'm glad you reinforced that. Please know that, you know, we want to hear your voice. We want to offer feedback. That's the whole point of this space, you know, no matter where you are. And thank you, Angel, for saying that, because, you know, some people may not feel comfortable, you know, or think, as I got the message, well, these writers are experienced or they're established writers. And that's not necessarily the case today. Some people they had never read before. But, you know, what for whatever reason, you know, it came out in a very powerful way. I just think it's a space that's encouraging people to use their voice.
Yes.
So, thank you, Dr. Angel Miles. Who wanted to say something? Was it Angel or someone else?
I was the one who asked that question about experience. This is Joyce.
Where are you at?
Yeah, Waldorf, Maryland.
Hey, Joyce. Hey.
Yeah. Because I'm wondering, how do you become a better writer if it just feels like if everyone's so good and you don't get criticism, constructive criticism, how can you become better?
Michelle Simmons Burton, what were you going to say? I heard you say something. What were you saying?
You write, you read. You write every day. You read. You just write and read, and you know you send it out when you're ready to send it out. But you just don't ever stop writing, whether you're published or not. You never stop writing.
That's right. And Joyce, thank you for stepping those. I didn't want to put you on the spot by saying your name earlier, but thank you for saying that. I echo what Dr. Michelle just said. And the second piece is just, we are not in competition with anyone else. You know, this is your journey. This is your journey for yourself. And, you know, what I get from other writers, and, you know, we all are in different places. Were you here last week, Joyce, with the first workshop, or this is your first one?
No, this is the first time. Yeah.
So one thing we said, think about the fact that Toni Morrison did not write her first novel until she was nearly 40 years of age. You know what I mean? She spent those years teaching, editing other people, and probably wondering, okay, is this going to happen for me? But then when she did it, because she was not in competition with anybody else, think about the next 40 years of her life and what materialized. I mean, she's one of the greatest fiction writers ever, you know what I'm saying? And so, writers ever, period. And so I just think you have to start where you are. You know, Walter Mosley, someone quoted reference Walter Mosley a few times, but Kay Hernandez, you know, was reading, you know, Walter Mosley, the same thing. I mean, he had a corporate job or something like that. Then he found his voice writing. And so just do it. Just do it. I was just talking about Nuyorican. It's 9:30. We have 2 left, Chris, and we'll be done. Let's say 10 minutes. We're going to wrap this up. Is that all right? Dr. Michelle and Lakeisha, to wrap this up. And thank you all for holding on. And Chris, forgive me, Chris. I just wanted to be fair to everyone. And we're going to,
man, we here.
Okay. The next week we'll get rolling with the 15 people a little bit longer, because I realize folks want to respond to folks and everything like that. So I apologize. We're still trying to. Can we mute, please? Can we just mute everyone? We'll get started earlier next week, because I realize people want to respond to folks, and so. But I do want to get 15 people every week. So we are up to our last 2, Dr. Michelle Simmons Burton and Lakeisha. Can we mute?
I can't hear anything now.
Dr. Michelle Simmons.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
Yes.
All right. 2 pieces. When I write fiction, I have to first write some form of poetry in order to figure out the character's voice. So this is Madame Celine Ba, aka Victor Hugo's Black Lover. In Bridgetown, in Bridgetown, I stand in this room that I share with my mom and dad. This room that holds all of me and none of Celine. I hide her between daylight and nightfall in the folds of the frog's music, someplace where the space is cracked. 2, how do I know marriage breaks you? I see the gallop leave women's eyes. I smell sex and sour milk on their skin, where once oleander and lavender stomped out the mold and fear. I hear the cadence of good morning slither into a good morning, heavy with the weight of other bodies. I feel the ridges on their hands broken from a man's touch. I taste the rotten mangoes on their lips. I tell Mom that wifehood cannot claim me, that I'd rather walk into the sea and drink the salty water until I burst. Mom sucks her tongue and says, "Crazy girl."
Wow.
That's it.
Can we unmute everyone? Can we unmute everyone for a second? Wow. When did you write?
Beautiful.
In January, when I was in Barbados doing research on Madame Selene Ba, a couple of scholars said they can't find her, and the archivist told me there are no Bas on the island, and of course I found the Ba. I didn't find her, but I think I found her mother.
Wow, Barbados. Yeah. Barbados is my spiritual home. Are you Bayesian? Are you African American? Are you just?
No, I'm African American. My dad's great grandfather is from the Bahamas, but my mother's side, we've been here since the 18th century.
Beautiful. I love it. And I love that you evoked history and imagery, which is very rich. What are you going to do with that piece?
I'm writing a novel.
Excellent. So that's part of the novel then?
Well, I'm thinking it is, because at first I was just using the poetry as an exercise to figure out who this woman was, but I think I'm just going to put it all in there. I think to have multi-genres, yeah. As Joyce Carol Oates says, experiment, don't.
Will every chapter start with poetry, then go into fiction? Is that what you're envisioning?
I could, yeah. I could. I haven't figured out how I'm going to organize it yet. But I have both Madame Selene's voice and then Victor Hugo's daughter voice, because Madame Selene actually rescued Victor Hugo's daughter. And then when they write Victor Hugo's history, she gets like maybe 3 lines.
So this is historical fiction.
This is historical fiction, yeah. She really lived, yeah.
That's incredible. Wow.
But we think her dad's from Trinidad. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because Ba's not a name that's indigenous to, to Barbados.
Wow, wow. Where are you at with this novel?
Well, probably 3/4 through, because I switched to work on another piece.
Okay, another book or something?
Another book. I write all the time.
So you're prolific.
No, I just write all the time and don't publish.
I
published in my 20s.
Can I just say so Daughters of the Dust? Can I just say so Daughters of the Dust?
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, I read that. I'm like Eve's Bayou.
Yeah. 2 of my favorite films.
Yeah.
Judy Dash. I'm just like, when you and there's so many of those stories of Black women, Geechee women that are like not told.
Not told. Okay, so Kimberly, you're from Detroit, right?
Yes.
Okay, Kimberly, next time you go on the DIA, look up at the mural of Diego Rivera and look at that Black woman. All right?
Ooh.
I wrote a story about her. Nobody knows who she is.
Right?
She was a maid at the hotel right across the street. That's all I know. Nobody has any records on her.
Isn't that something?
So go west. Go to the southwest side of Detroit. In Little Meckstown, and go to and look at the various mural. Well, I haven't been home in a long time since it's been whatever. But when I was coming up, even in Meckstown, because I have a family of Lexicans as well. Going down right around the corner from, y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but if you go to Detroit,
I know.
Right around the corner from Sociomoco, there are murals, and in all those little art galleries, there are also depictions of like Afro Latina women.
Yeah.
You understand? And we don't know who they are.
No, don't know who they are. No.
But they're just assumed as part of the culture. But they're Afro, Latina women that are part of Detroit culture, like historical Detroit culture, part of Black culture, because they're not, when I say Afro Latina, like they're part of us too.
Right.
And they're recognized in both. And they're recognized in both communities, like separately in both communities. Like to me, that's the issue. So when you write, like when I'm listening to your writing, it's like it's like bringing them
together.
It's like bringing them together.
You have to. Yeah.
Are these murals? Are these like huge wall murals in public dwellings that you guys are talking about in Detroit?
Some of them are like legal, and some of them are not. And so, in certain areas, they'll pop up, and then they'll be brushed over, and then they'll pop up again, and they'll be brushed over. And in other areas, they're sanctioned.
Wow. That's interesting, because I don't know if you've been to like Chihuahua or Guadalupe, Mexico. That's what it's all over. It's all in various different, all over in Latin America, especially in Mexico, like Chihuahua and Guadalupe and all these different cities. They have those wonderful, colorful murals that you're talking about, and it shows the history of African ancestry within the Mexican culture. That's awesome.
Y'all, my next project is a crit walk using African. Like, I'm just saying, it's a crit walk. It's a crit walk using our aesthetic as a language of liberation internationally. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Kind of like what Serena did when she won.
Yeah, she did do that.
She did. That was her liberation dance.
Hey y'all. I want to be respectful to the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, y'all fine. I love the conversation, but no, you cool, Kimber. Dr. Michelle, can't wait to read that novel. Straight up.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
That's great.
Lakeisha, are you good? You ready to close us out?
Yeah,
Watson?
I'm here.
Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
So this is not any like structured anything. It was the thoughts that I had after the meeting last week.
That's okay.
So I started out writing, I fear writing, ... The emotions that are evoked during the process can be quite overwhelming. But why do I fight the emotions? Why am I afraid to feel? What is holding me back? The anticipations of the deliberations over words and style, the myriad of thoughts and ideas that come to my disposal, or the possibility of none at all. The avoidance of decision fatigue, the indecisiveness and the anxiety that it produces. But what if all of this is a part of the process? The discomfort evolves into liberation. But for the perseverance, what would happen if I stayed with it instead of running away? How about I remind myself that perfection is not the objective, that it should never be. The liberation of my soul, my mind, my voice, for this is what it is.
Wow. What a way to end this. Wow. Lakeisha, you all right over there?
I'm feeling all like hot and stuff and
perfection, brother. Perfection is not the objective. Wow. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you are using your voice. We need you. As I'm saying to everyone, we need you. How do you feel?
Who, me or everybody?
You.
I feel kind of like liberated just by reading that. I felt liberated when I wrote it. So now there's another layer of liberation to this piece. And I really want to go and like explore it more and write more about it and feel more. And like, just, I want to feel.
I want to feel.
Yeah, because like I hold back because sometimes emotions can be overwhelming.
May I ask a question? Because I missed it, and forgive me if I missed it. Did you have a title for that piece you just read?
I just wrote, I fear writing with the 3 dots next to it. I also love what you just said, I want to feel.
I think that would be a powerful title. Those are your words. I'm just giving it back to you. You just said it. And I'm like, that would be a powerful title for it. Okay. I want to feel. Because that's what that piece is about to me. Fighting through these things to get to our voice. And Joyce, you see what we're saying? I hope clearer now, because people are at different places of expression as well, you know. But we are getting through it. And let me make it clear to Joyce, Lakeisha, I'm sitting here now very comfortable speaking with you all. It was not always the case. Trust me on that. I would mute myself all the time. And if I did speak, I would speak really fast to try to get out of the way, and just because I didn't think that what I had to say was all that important. You know what I mean? And so you have to grow into that. And like Dr. Michelle said, that comes from reading, that comes from writing, but I also think it comes from, you know, even though it took a little longer than we anticipated tonight, that's all right. We're holding on, you know, those of us who got the time to do it, because it's important for us to share our voices and to listen to each other. You know what I mean? In community. I appreciate you, Lakeisha.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of y'all. Y'all all right? Next week is going to be called Writing Poetry. And even if you don't call yourself a poet, I'm asking y'all all, please come anyway, because we're going to be talking about metaphors, alliteration, all these different things. Don't consider it homework. To borrow Legera's term, we're going to call it play work, which is we're going to write 3 haikus, 5 syllables, 7 syllables a second line, and 5 syllables play work. Just try it. You know, those of us who use can't tonight, am I right, Andrew? We shouldn't have can't in our vocabulary. Can we unmute everyone? Because Andrew wants to say something. I'm sorry, Andrew. Or home play. Someone said home play. Andrew, I can't hear Andrew.
I've already written 1 haiku already.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You did the homework. Yeah.
You did your play work. You did your play work.
Yeah.
So I want to just thank y'all again for 3 haikus on 3 subjects that happened this year. Challenge yourselves to write short stuff. I'm going to bring in some sample poems that we're going to share next week on the screen, of some poets of different backgrounds, different gender identities, all of that I think are important for us to look at as some examples of how to master poetry. Because I actually think poetry will help you if you write plays, screenplays, science fiction, historical novels, all of it. You know, we heard examples of it all, so many of the works tonight, just beautiful poetry. I see you, Eartha Watts Hicks. Are you cool? I want to shout out the Harlem Writers Guild, one of our historic literary organizations in the country, Harlem Writers Guild. Much love to y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. I want to thank the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, Chris Lopez and Sadea James, my teammate, for holding on past 47 minutes past our time. What we're going to do from now on, Sadea, let's just remember to do this. We're not going to go over the previous week's workshop. We'll share it with folks in the chat room. Just copy and paste it so you can see the notes for the previous week. All right, because there's certain buzzwords that you all shared that I'll put out there. And just thank y'all. I'm sleepy and I'm thirsty. So let's just close our eyes for 30 seconds and just, you know, silently, let's just thank whoever we thank, you know, and for this opportunity to share community, the whole space together. Ashe, and thank you. Thank you to 15 folks who shared. Wow, just wow, just wow.